right on a Monday. I feel like we need to get our heads right. Certainly, the Padres fan base, the Padres themselves, they got to get their heads right. I don't know what their problem is. But we'll figure it out. We'll talk about it. And listen, it's great to be here with you guys on this Monday morning. I'm Woodsy. That is Paul Reindl. He's the executive producer and the imaging director of the station. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
Benjamin Higgins is your friendly, very friendly, neighborhood sports anchor. You're a friendly guy.
Too friendly.
Not so friendly this morning.
Oh, no.
No, I'm going to be very friendly as always.
You're too
People
friendly.
get
I'm
mad
just gonna
when
go
I'm
say
so
it.
friendly.
He said this morning, he just sat down and kind of matter-of-factly said, people get really mad at my tweets.
He let out a.
He's like, yeah. Yeah. Man, people get really mad at
being
me.
my normal, optimistic, look on the bright side self, and it really infuriates some people.
Yeah, I can. And it doesn't infuriate me because I know you. I know you as a person, and you're a good person. It doesn't infuriate me. When you do tweet, sometimes I do this. Oh, no. Oh, you're dead. like you're going to get dragged. Now, you also don't mind getting dragged. So I wonder, and not to kink shame here, do you have a humiliation fetish?
I don't. I will say that I am used to it. It doesn't. It doesn't bother me. I don't think
Yes. Is it getting to you though? Because you've never really mentioned it
I don't
before.
I don't think it's getting to me. I don't enjoy it though. It's not like I am like. I think there are people who will send out a post on social media, in order to get dragged, like get that reaction,
like an S post. I do it for not for Padres fans, but for Dodger fans. I like to mix it up with them because they get so sensitive. So I'll tweet something about the Dodgers just to rile them up.
I'm not putting my hands together. Ooh, this one is really gonna get them mad out there.
I don't think you have that in you.
I don't do that.
No,
it just naturally occurs based on my sunny disposition and optimistic outlook.
You are. I mean, it's almost infuriating when you do it. Because we'll do a group text, right? And I'll send something that like maybe Adam says or does that makes me mad that I'm venting about, and Ben he'll pull the well actually, and I'm at home like this, like stabbing myself in the throat, like, hey, just have my back here. No,
I will say, and I sometimes get frustrated by the fans, and you guys are just as bad as everybody else, especially on the group text. When things are starting to go bad, Paulie text, here we go.
Here we go.
Hey, can we just please just wait until the game's over once or twice?
Hang on.
Just to see what happens?
Hang on. You're talking about Friday afternoon. Probably about, I don't know.
I'm talking about 70 times
You are
over the last
specifically talking about Friday afternoon. I texted the thread, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I said, man, this loss is going to sting.
Yeah.
I think we were winning at the time, by the way.
Yeah.
And I go, man, this loss is going to sting.
I'm not saying you aren't right a lot of the time.
And then I just send you the, what did I tell you?
Yeah,
After
told
the
you.
game ended.
Told you.
The walk-off.
Told you. Sucked.
I just prefer to remain optimistic until it's over, and then I can be sad like the rest of us. But I don't think there's any reason to get sad before it's all over. Might as well at least be open to the possibility that it'll be different
Now
this time.
That
what
makes
Paulie
you a
does.
rube.
Yeah, what
I am
Paulie,
Charlie Brown trying to kick the football.
It's more like for me,
this is the time.
I'm saying I've seen how this story ends.
Sure, and what it does for when Paulie and I, the venting of it, expecting the worst. When it happens, you're like, see, I told you. Like, that makes us feel better. And not
it's
because
a little
you're
bit of
right.
like lowering your expectations,
Yes.
too. That way, if you're pleasantly surprised, great.
It's just psychology. It's your own inner struggle with, loving a baseball team. Janine says he prefers delusion. Janine, by the way, is the spiciest Padres fan out there. Got to meet her finally at when we were on opening day, and she walked in, she goes, I'm Janine, and I go, I love you. I said, I think you are so nuts in your Padre fandom, and I really appreciate it. It doesn't bother me when Janine goes off on these guys. It really kind of makes me happy. She's great. You're great, Janine. I don't think Ben's delusional. If you know Ben, he is so glass half full, and there's some time to get it figured out. But this weekend was not fun to be a Padres fan at all. Again, you feel like you should have swept that turd team, and you didn't. You've lost another series. And did I read this correctly? Have the Oakland A's won a series before the San Diego Padres? Is that true? That actually happened. That makes me want to pull my hair out. You know, that's what really makes me nuts. I hadn't
connected those dots until
somebody
you just said that.
Somebody tweeted at Paulie, and I specifically chose to ignore it. Essentially, I go, I'm not going to go do the research. I'm not even going to look because I think it'll just make me mad. Did you guys have good weekends, bad weekends, average weekends? I got some funny stories from the weekend.
You know, I had to work on Friday and Saturday night, so it wasn't a weekend that felt much like a weekend. I did have yesterday off. Really relaxing Sunday. I watched the Iowa basketball, the championship game, and then the Padres game with my son, and did some laundry stuff around the house. So that was a nice, just complete day off. I fixed I didn't fix the radiator on my car, but I figured out how to add coolant myself, which always makes you feel like
a man.
Very competent. I mean, I don't want to, gender assign anything to it. There's no reason.
You can ring it on me. I just realized.
Ring the misogyny bell there, but just makes you feel competent, like a competent human being.
I say that because my wife totally knows how to put coolant in her car. I don't. So there, she just rang it on me in the chat. I apologize for my misogyny. I really do. Speaking of, I can't even say it. Well, speaking of like good things that you should do around the house, we had these weeds growing out of our gutters. And I mean like 3 foot tall, like huge.
Like they've actually
sprouted out of our gutters. And I'm like,
just from the silt that is accumulated, and then the seeds that landed in there, and then they started growing.
So I'm like,
that tells you it's been a while since you've cleaned out the gutters.
Correct. And I kept walking in, I don't know, every day for about 2 months, going, somebody really needs to get those. So finally, I hit my breaking point, and I go, I'm just gonna have to get up. They're all coated and covered in spider webs, by the way. Like there's weeds, and you can see the spider webs. I'm like, this is not going to be fun. So I got both the boys out, made them hold the garbage bag, because I'm trying to put their little asses to work, too. Right. They're freeloaders, both of them. And I had them hold the garbage bag, climbed up the ladder, pulled the weeds, threw them down in the bag. We did some father-son home improvement. I felt very, I don't want to say manly. I felt very confident in it.
Is that part of the game of being married, that things around the house, sometimes it comes down to which of you can stand it the longest? Neither of you I'm sure neither of you liked the weeds growing out.
No.
But you just wait long enough, and if it bothers the other person more, you hope that they'll take care of it before you have to take care of it. Like dishes sitting in the sink for a while. Like maybe if I don't do them now, someone else will do them. But eventually you just think, it's bothering me enough that I am going to now get this done.
My wife, I'll win every one of those because I can wait it out for a year if I had to. Now, I'm actually surprised this got to me as much as it did. But I would walk in every day through the front door, and I would look up and go, God, we look like hillbillies. Like we look like the Beverly Hillbillies. And so I finally just said, all right, boys, get your stuff together. We're going to go out. We're going to do this. Part of it, too, was like teaching them that they need to start doing chores. They're 6 and 3.
This is a be careful what do you wish for moment, though, because I know from at least your descriptions of Hannah that she likes everything in her place, and she likes a neat and ordered house.
Yes.
And, runs a pretty tight ship.
Very tight.
I would say that early on in our marriage, Shelley was more like that. She wanted everything good. I was like, just loosen up. It's fine if we leave something here or there. I've done such a good job, though, of loosening her up that she now I'm the one who's like, can't we get some stuff done around here? And now I end up being
she's
the
very
one
loose now.
Now she's loose, and it's like, this is what you wanted. I'm now loose. It's fine. I'm not going to make you do the dishes or I'm not going to ask you to do anything. It's like, yeah, but it still needs to kind of get done. And now I find myself as the one who, I guess I better do this if no one else is going to do it. So careful what you wish for there.
Yeah, there just needs to be a happy medium. Is what I'm thinking. Hannah worked a ton this weekend, so I had the boys a lot. It was great, very very fun. But we put the kids to bed on Saturday night. Saturday was a long day. They both got up at 6. We went to breakfast. We did all kinds of activities, and we went nuts. We had a basketball clinic. we got his new lacrosse gear because he's going to SEALs camp, so we played lacrosse. Taylor had a birthday party. It was just a long day, full, 6 a.m. We finally got these dudes down. I looked at her, I go, I am gassed. That day felt like it felt like 24 hours, into the 12 hours we were up. So I finally get in bed at like 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh my God, yes. All of a sudden I hear down the hall. So I go, oh, I hope he's okay. It's Taylor, my 3-year-old. So I run down the hall. I go, buddy, what's the matter? He goes, sticks his finger out. He goes, I got a boogie on me. And I go, what? He goes, I have a boogie. He had a booger on his finger. He picked
His own?
Yes. Yes. He picked his own booger and then started screaming about it. So I had to run in his room and I go, what do you want me to do? And he just sticks his finger out and I took it on my finger and I go, that's it? And he started laughing. And I go,
I got your ass.
I go, you called me in here for a booger? And he starts dying laughing. So I walk next to him. I go, he just called me in there to take a booger off of his finger. I go, I'm over it. I'm going to bed. I'm taking a sleeping pill.
That's 5-star service right there.
Come on, man. And I was like, well, at least he didn't put it in his bed. I'm like, I wish he would have. I wish he had a little collection. Don't call me in there for a booger. Call me in there for important things. So it just never ends. We had our Tier 1 baseball game yesterday that did not go well. We lost 7-2. And I don't know what to do, Ben. I don't know how to motivate these guys. What do I do?
Can you threaten to send someone down to the minors, to the Tier 2 team, or
The
anything
Tier
like
2
that?
team, I believe, won yesterday. Congratulations
Maybe
to
you need
those
to promote
guys.
some of those players from the Tier 2 team to the Tier 1 team.
Yeah, maybe we run the shuttle down there to South County.
I thought at one point Woods was going to pull because we have enough guys to do it. 8 men off, 8 men on, just full swap,
full team swap.
The high school basketball coach maneuver after 3 minutes of a game that's sloppy. You're all coming off the court. Point to the bench. I was always one of the guys on the bench who, I get to go in because the coach is so mad at the starters that I actually get to go to a game
so
for
good,
once.
Dude.
And I know it's only going to be for 2 minutes, and he's going to realize, I was still better off with the starters, goofing off out there than I am with the bench guys. But I made my point. Now, you all come back off the court, and we'll put the good players back in.
It was, I finally snapped at the team yesterday because they had the Padres game on in the dugout, and we're down like 2 or 3 runs. And, there's still plenty of time to win the game. And like 5 guys were over watching the game. And I turned around and I go, hey, we got a pretty good game going on out here that we still have many innings to play. And then I was like, oh, wow. I just snapped at everyone. And I'm sure they were texting each other later, like, how does Paulie work with him on a daily basis? Like, this guy's an absolute lunatic. So, yeah, it sucked. We lost. We made like 14 errors. We walked 11 times. Normally in adult league, that's a good recipe for success. You get on base, you're
2 runs on 11.
We scored 2 runs and
11 walks.
We struck out 13 times.
Well,
we
I know
had 5 hits.
I know what would happen if this was the real big leagues. You can't replace all the players, so fire the manager and see if someone else can do a better job. Maybe promote the bench coach to the manager.
Fine. My pleasure. Paulie, you have the con.
I got opening day for Tier 1 basketball this week, so there's my mentality.
You have the con, buddy. It's all yours. It is all yours.
Ben, you want it?
No, I'm good. Thank you. You sound fairly miserable right now. Let's get going because we got an entire weekend to discuss, including yesterday's. That was a tough one to take. A game the Padres absolutely 100% should have won and didn't win against the San Francisco Giants. We'll set the menu. I'll tell you what we've got coming up on the show today. It's an Eclipse Monday here with Ben and Woods. Don't go anywhere. Let's check traffic with Kelly and then off and running on a Monday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I get it, Paulie.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it too.
Total eclipse of
I
the
don't know
heart.
that I can do this all day,
Yeah.
but I can do it here.
Why not? I'm looking outside. I can't. Is it eclipsing right now? It
Is
seems
it
kind of
today?
dim outside, but I think it's just because it's. Yeah, today is the eclipse.
I was
everybody.
reading Southern California, I think between like 10 a.m. and 12:30 p.m.
We're getting just
Partial.
under 60% eclipse,
Okay.
so you might not even notice if you're not paying attention. It'll get a little dimmer than usual for an hour here. It's really the eastern part, the swath of totality from Mexico all the way up to New England. There's like 118-mile wide swath that it's across, from south to north across the country, where they will get a very rare total eclipse of the sun today. The next one in the United States will not be until the year 2044,
Okay.
I believe, or 43. And that'll be like in Montana, just a little corner of Montana and North Dakota. So they are quite rare, the total eclipse, but we will not be getting that spectacular of a show today. You have to be in a different part of the country. I see we have some tier ones who are in the path of totality today. Hopefully wishing for good weather. If it's cloudy, it'll get dark, but you won't really see anything otherwise, other than it just getting dark in the middle of the day. But it is an unusual stellar phenomenon.
Get your glasses.
Should I care more about it? There's been some things lately going on that everyone has been tweeting like, go out, see SpaceX, the launch. And I'm like, I'm all right. It's just like a trail in the sky. Like
I watched it the other day.
Did you? I wish I did.
I saw that one was launching in about like 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you went outside.
Pulled it up on YouTube. You can watch the launch. And at first I go, this is crazy. Like it wasn't that long ago in human race where like the whole world stopped to watch a rocket launch.
Right, yeah.
And now we're just like, let me put on YouTube real quick and watch another one. And it's in like, what is it, San Luis Obispo or Santa Barbara is where they launch out of. And so I watched it launch on YouTube and we went outside to the backyard and about 30 seconds later, sure enough, there it is. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just that way. I'm just like, I think that's that dumb thing that I have.
You just heard Ben. We're not going to see another one for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years.
I just want to see some wins.
Maybe get the kids some sunglasses.
I just want some wins. That's all.
Glasses.
I think everything would be better if we would just win ball games. I know that I think I would be in a better mood. People would be more positive in this town. We'd be happier. I just want to see some wins. I do. That's honestly, it all boils down. I want to see the Tier 1 baseball team win some games. I want to see my kids play well, and I want to see the Padres. I think if those three things all converged, I would be a much happier guy. Is that sad?
Yeah.
It's sad, but they're, listen, I count my blessings. My kids are healthy. Everything's good. But I think I was such a jerk.
We need to get you to a point where the performance of the Padres, good or bad, does not impact your mood
Honestly,
so much.
Our baseball team's loss yesterday affected me more than the Padres.
Because you weren't watching the Padres because you were playing a game.
Yeah, well, but when I knew they lost, and I knew how they lost, and I got home and watched like the lowlights, I guess, as it were, and was like, now I'm like doubly mad. And so I don't know how I get there. Weed doesn't help me. It helps a lot of people, and they're very zen about it. And I'm trying to be zen, but the zen is dissipating.
Big bomber class with a boss in my head.
There's no doubt.
I feel better. That actually makes me feel a little bit
It's been hard to be a Padres fan this last season and a half. Not hard in the way it used to be, where you had no chance to start the season and no hope. It's hard in that, every team is going to play games like yesterday, where something weird is going to happen and it's going to cost a team a game.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's as rare as a solar eclipse when the Padres actually win one of those games.
Correct.
It just feels like all the weird stuff, and some of it is obviously self-inflicted. Other times it is just kind of random bad luck in baseball. But it certainly feels like it just always has gone against the Padres, at least since the start of last season. All the weird stuff, and we'll get into yesterday's game and what happened with Ha-Sung Kim, that you would not expect. Ha-Sung Kim to do to cost the Padres a baseball game.
It's tough, man. Yeah.
Certainly did. We'll get into our Padres wrap-up coming up in our next segment and discuss yesterday's 3-2 loss to the San Francisco Giants. Then we'll go back and discuss Friday and Saturday's games. One win, another close loss that you thought the Padres could have had in the Friday game. In our 7 o'clock hour, Take on Woods and Don't Do This, we will also at some point, I think maybe in the 8 o'clock hour, get into the NCAA basketball, the women's Final Four over the weekend, the controversy on Friday night with the call that went the way of the Iowa Hawkeyes, the illegal screen that had the sports world in an uproar.
I mean, it was as busy on social media about that call as I've ever seen it about any single call. Interested to hear what your thoughts are.
Very
on
polarizing. Should it have been called? Should it not have been called? It definitely cost the Huskies a chance at the championship game and helped Caitlin Clark get there. Of course, yesterday she came up a little bit short again against a very talented South Carolina team that dominated their way through the entire season. So we'll take a look at the Final Four, the men's championship game. A lot of intrigue for that one tonight as well, with UConn looking to complete unprecedented. Not that other teams haven't won twice in a row, but to run through 2 NCAA tournaments without ever really even being challenged. Not one close game. Not one, just survived that one by 3 points. Nope. Just win by double digits. 12 straight games if they get this one and take the title is something you do not see in the NCAA tournament. You just never see it, and they're looking to pull off something incredible, but they'll have to go through the 2-time Player of the Year, Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers. So we'll talk some college basketball in our second half of the show. In-season Sammy, he's our Monday regular Padres guest. He'll give us his thoughts from the weekend covering the team and what's going on, and take a look ahead to this week with the Cubs coming to town tonight. Fresh off taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers.
I actually said it in the dugout. Somebody was like, "Hey, Cubs are beating the crap out of the Dodgers." And I said, "Oh, good." And then I went, crap, they're coming here next. That's what you want, right? Like they're cruising in on a hot streak, beating the juggernaut $1 billion Dodgers. You're like, okay, now again, we said last week, Ben, this stretch of schedules that's coming up is pretty solid. And that's why you needed 2 out of 3 from the Giants, and you feel like you could have won all 3 and probably should have. And now, Cubs coming in, you got the Dodgers, you got the Brewers, I believe, as well. That's the other team. I mean, you're going to get the Rockies, but the Rockies always play us like really, really tough. Those games are going to be nerve-wracking, so they're going to have to continue to tread water until they figure it out.
Cubs for 3, off day. At Dodgers for 3, at Milwaukee for 3,
Man.
off day. Back home for a weekend series with the Blue Jays, 4 at Colorado, and then they wrap up the month back home against the Phillies and the Reds.
Got to do a little bit better than they've done so far.
Yeah,
no doubt about that. We'll get into it. 9 o'clock hour, Reindl Report, and turn things over to Annie and Elston at 10 o'clock. There's your menu. We will start with the courses. We'll present our dishes, beginning with our Padres wrap-up. In our next segment, the highlights with Jesse and Tony, and we'll discuss yesterday's loss to the San Francisco Giants. Who do you blame? Is it Ha-Sung Kim? Is it Johnny Brito? Is it Mike Schilt? I've seen all of them taking some of the slings and arrows from Padres fans yesterday. So that's coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Uh-oh, new liner. I always got to make sure I'm not being pranked here. This one looks legitimate. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by SafeLight. Cracked windshield. Go to safelight.com now to schedule your free mobile service and let SafeLight come to you. That's safelight.com. Conditions may apply.
Got you. I can't believe he read it. For that idiot. He did it. What an idiot.
What a moron.
I've seen those ads.
SafeLight
Replayer. SafeLight Replace.
The best.
You've done it.
Like all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I had a crack in my windshield. I went home, took a nap. I came out. The crack in my windshield was gone. It's the best thing ever. Like, they're so good at what they do.
Sounds like almost like wishing upon a star.
That's exactly right.
Listen,
I went.
just hope that I wake up that my windshield will be fixed.
I walked out and the guy called me. He's, I'm on my way. Great. Do you need anything from me? No, not at all. I'll just text you when I'm done. Okay. Sounds good to me. Woke up from my nap. Windshield was fixed. Beautiful.
Outstanding. Yeah. All right, Paulie's got our Padres wrap-up standing by. Get to the highlights and discuss yesterday's game against the Giants right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center.
Traffic is sponsored by Robert Half. Got a couple of problems in the North County. Collision southbound 5 at the Birmingham off-ramp. Looks like a couple vehicles involved. They're over to the right shoulder. Also, southbound 15 still clearing an accident just before Deer Springs Road. That's got the fast lane blocked. And Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station. 97.3 The Fan.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
It's a shame if they lose.
Oh, a shame indeed.
It's a complete crap.
Oh, I did not like that.
Here are the lowlights from yesterday's game.
Are you kidding me?
Boo.
It's the Padres Wrap-Up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
It's not your fault.
2-1 to Cronenworth with Fernando at first, 1 out, just underway. Jake sends one in the air to deep center. Lee is back. He's on the track. He's at the wall, bounces into the wall, and doesn't make the play. Ball hits the top of the fence. Tatis rounding third. On his way, the throw is wide. The tag, not in time. An aggressive base running as Fernando kind of stopped at third and then turned on the Jets to come home and score the first run of the day. 0-2, swing and a miss. Matt Waldron, a quick and tidy 1-2-3 fourth inning, and he caps it with a K. Here's the pitch, and Kim launches one into left field, a line drive, base hit in front of Conforto. Cronenworth will jog home from third, an RBI single for Kim. Padres have doubled their lead. It's 2-0. Runners lead at first and third. Pitch on the way. And Conforto grounds it right to first. Cronenworth steps on the bag one. Throw to second. The tag is dropped by Kim. The game is tied. Solaire's on his way to third. Solaire at third, 2 outs. Tie game, 8th inning. 3-1 pitch. Chapman base hit into right field. Solaire will score. And for the first time today, the Giants lead. It's 3-2. Here it comes. Campusano swings and misses, strike 3. Went to the slider, and the ball game is over. Padres with a little bit of life here in the 9th inning, but Doval extinguishes it, and the Giants win the series after they come from behind in this one and take it 3-2.
Oh, yeah, I mean, super uncharacteristic out of Kimmy. I mean, look, there's nobody else. I mean, look, we got a great defensive team, guys we trust, and, this guy's clearly deservingly won a Gold Glove and won, been top 3 years previously. So, sometimes you got to prove you're human. So I'll trust Ha-Seong Kim any day of the week defensively.
I think one thing I've noticed about Schild, and I mean, something I actually like about him, guy's going to ride for his players, straight up. He's not going to call his players out. I've never heard him do it. I don't know if he did it in St. Louis. All I can speak to is what he's done here so far. He's a positive guy. He's going to ride for his players. And I do think, as much as it sucks to have your shortstop make 2 very, very key errors and cost you a game, essentially, you can it's easy to look at that and go, that's it. That's the fault of Ha-Seong Kim, the Ha-Seong Kim game, right? Score runs. You got 10 hits off of Logan Webb, okay? You managed to get 10 knocks off one of the best pitchers in baseball, and you don't add on. It is such a team game. it's the hardest thing to, if you make an error in the first inning and they get 2 runs or whatever, and you lose that game 2-0, is that your fault? Is it your fault because you booted one in the first or the sixth or the fifth? No, it's not. It's not. And that's the hard part. I think we as fans, we look at that and we want a reason. We want an explanation. But how many chances did you have to add on in that game and in every game that you've lost? And you just didn't. You didn't. And, man, I love Kimmy. And Kimmy is a really good shortstop. I'm not ready to trade him. I'm not ready to bench him. I'm not ready to get rid of him. There should be no knee-jerk reaction with Ha-Seong Kim at short. He is going to have crap days with his glove. Yesterday was one of them. The first error, pretty egregious. The next one was just a stupid, weird play. He caught it, snow-coned it almost. Guy ran into it, knocked it out of his glove. I don't know that it was human error on that. What could he have done better? Well, he needs to catch it in the pocket and use 2 hands.
It wasn't a mental mistake.
It wasn't a mental mistake. He didn't get nutmegged by it. It's just tough, man. To have a guy like that gives you 110 every single day he's on the field and everyone's ready to ship him out. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I heard a couple of his comments through translation and talking about it's definitely was on him yesterday. He had a throw that was low early in the game that Jake made a really nice scoop on, and you could almost see like his mind working as he's throwing that next one in the 6th inning that got over Jake's head. Like, don't bounce this one. Kind of like me in the first pitch. If I had another chance to throw a first pitch, it would go way over everybody's head.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, don't bounce it, don't bounce it, don't bounce it. And you do the exact opposite of bouncing it when you throw like that's human. That does happen. Yeah, the other play was just weird. And this is why it's so difficult for me, I think, to talk about the Padres. I am like most major league managers and GMs. You got to be kind of process-oriented in baseball. Like, did the Padres do most of the things that they were supposed to do yesterday to win a game? They had Padres had their number 5 starter going up against the Giants' ace. That's pretty much a loss. You're expecting to lose that game.
Pretty much.
But instead, the number 5 pitcher outpitched the Giants' ace.
Pitched his ass off.
You got 10 hits off that guy. You were hitting the ball hard, doing a good job at the plate. Your process offensively was good. And then you just didn't turn them into runs. And that is... No one in baseball has ever really totally solved that equation. You can say, well, you got to hit better with runners in scoring position. Padres are among the league leaders with runners in scoring position this year. Somehow,
God,
last
it doesn't
year,
feel like it,
I
does
know,
it? It just does not
somehow
feel like it.
they are just the masters of bad timing.
It's the timing. It is just the worst timing in baseball, I feel like. And, it's like that text I sent to my buddy last week watching this team going, they're just remarkably unclutch, and that's not something you can quantify. You can keep stats of this is what they do. This is what these hitters do 7th inning and beyond. There's stats for it, but it's not
individually, as we talked about a ton last year. Manny Machado throughout his career, very clutch.
Right.
Xander Bogaerts throughout his career, very clutch. Ha-Seong Kim was clutch even last year. None of these guys have a problem feeling pressure and going up and delivering according to their career numbers.
According to the numbers, yeah.
It once again doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if I was AJ Preller, I would be in an insane asylum.
There's no question. In a full-on straitjacket.
This doesn't doesn't make a lot of sense. I put together players who all have clutch numbers, and yet somehow as a team, we've changed managers a bunch of times. When it all comes together, whenever we actually do need the one hit, they don't come through.
That's how it feels.
It's how it's felt for the last now season plus 11 games or 12 games of this year.
The other part, and certainly we're going to talk about the Grand Slam game on Saturday, but I mean, yeah, that was a win. I'm not going to complain about wins. But again, you get 4 in the first, and you're like, we're good. And I don't know that you can look at them and say, well, they clearly weren't trying. They were happy with those 4 runs. It just didn't materialize. And I think that's what they have a real problem of stepping on somebody's throat and keeping their foot there. And yesterday, you make a good point. You have your 5 against their 1. You hit their 1 well, and you still don't win that baseball game. That's the baseball. Those are the ones that make the difference at the end of the year. Kudos to Matt Waldron. Pitched his tail off, dude. 5 in the third, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 Ks. He's throwing a 3.86 ERA up there, Benny. He's been very good. I mean, that's a very good 2 starts for Matt Waldron. That does give you a little bit of peace knowing the run your rotation just went through was spectacular. 1 through 5, spectacular.
4
outing.
quality starts followed by 5 1/3, 3 hits, 1 unearned run for Matt Waldron. That's 5 terrific starts. And you got any halfway decent offense, that's a 5-0 stretch for the San Diego Padres. What did they go?
2-3.
2-3.
Yeah, 2-3
over that stretch. That's giving up 3 games in the standings right there. You should be tied with the Dodgers for first place.
Yeah,
right now, based on the pitching you got this week. You just get a little bit of offense when you need it, and you are tied for first place instead of 3 games back in second place.
And you look to the move that Mike Schilt made, bringing in Johnny Brito, and it's going to be picked apart. At the end of the day, that error by Ha-Seong Kim, Brito did his job, but by getting the ground ball, this play wasn't made. But Johnny Brito, I think, has proven enough. He is a starter that's not really comfortable. The balls that were hit off him were hit hard. They were.
The Wilmer Flores single was hit hard. The Soler bloop was not hit hard. They had a good pitch there. And then the bouncer to Jake was what you exactly needed in that situation. So of those first 3 batters that he faced, he did his job really against 2 of them.
Yes.
And should have been out of that inning.
With Matt Chapman up as well in a 3-1 count and first base open, you don't have to throw him a heater down the middle that he...
It was on the outside corner. I mean, Chapman went the other way with it.
He did go the other way with it, but it was middle. I mean, it was like...
But it was hittable. It was up and it was hittable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream for him. And again, you got a base open. Let Estrada. If Estrada beats you, Estrada beats you, right? I think Matt Chapman's hitting.
We will get to that game when he did actually beat the Padres.
I think Estrada. I think Matt Chapman's batting about 900 on a 3-1 count, as most baseball players do. And so, it's just these little weird things keep happening with this team. And look, here's what it boils down to. If you're the Padres, this city is begging to love you. They're begging to love you. They want to love you. They want to believe so badly. They don't hate you. They love you. You need to play a bit more inspired baseball, a bit more focused baseball. Too many mental mistakes, I think. Too many weird plays going against you. Like it was just such a series. You felt like, man, we played a lot better than 1 and 2. Played a lot better. We certainly pitched better than 1 and 2. But Schilt needs to figure out his bullpen. They need to figure out what they're going to do with Brito. They need to figure out how to get Manny going. Obviously, I mean, the top of the order right now, other than Jake, is hurting this team.
Let's talk about Mike Schilt and the bullpen decision specifically. He had Yuki Matsui went in, and my goodness gracious, he got 4 outs in 7 pitches. Had a 6-pitch inning in the 7th. And then 1 pitch, 1 out in the 8th. So he's certainly got plenty of gas left in the tank if they want to stay with him. But he's a left-hander, and Bob Melvin decides, all right, let's take out, I think it was Wade, and put in Wilmer Flores as the pinch hitter. And Mike Schilt decided, all right, we've got Johnny Brito warm. Let's go righty-righty. Let's go by the book baseball-wise, and let's get the better-handed matchup here against Wilmer Flores. And it backfired. Is that a managerial error there? Why not just stick with Yuki Matsui, who is throwing well, and let the Giants have the righty-lefty advantage? Or would that have been a mistake to leave the lefty in when you had a righty ready to go for exactly that situation?
It's the worst job in the big leagues, man. Period. That's it. There's no way to answer that question. I mean, playing matchups is how you can sleep at night, and sometimes they get you, and sometimes you get them. Period.
It's a more defensible decision to go. Why were you even warming up Brito if you weren't going to go to him if they went to a righty pinch hitter? That's why you had him warming. They did it. You were prepared with the move to counter Bob Melvin's move. I mean, that is baseball 101 right there. That's not he's not reinventing the wheel. Nope. That's how baseball managers do it. They have the right-hander ready, and they go to him when the pinch hitter is a right-hander in that situation. You got another couple right-handers behind him. Well, I mean, that is what you do. So is that on Mike Schilt? Is it on Mike Schilt for not, should he have gone with Enyel De Los Santos or someone else? You can always
what he did last
week. You can always make that argument as well. Or is it on AJ Preller? We all liked the bullpen he put together, but it hasn't.
It's been terrible.
It hasn't been that effective so far this season. And has he not given Mike Schilt the right options in that bullpen? A better right-hander in that situation, maybe the Padres do win that game. Do you need to make a move and send Johnny Brito down and bring up Jeremiah Estrada or Alex Jacob, who are both in the minor leagues right now and look good in spring training, or Randy Vasquez even. You've got other guys that were performing fairly well in spring training. You don't have to stick with guys forever. I also understand that if you just send every guy down after he has one or two bad outings, I mean, it's going to be just a constant revolving door, and no one's ever going to get locked in or comfortable. So you have to have some patience with your guys before you make moves. Is it Mike Schilt, or is it AJ Preller, or is it just on Johnny Brito? You got to get the job done, even when the guys behind you make a mistake. You've got to come back and get the next guy out.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching's one thing. You do, the paltry amount of runs that they've scored lately is tough to stomach too, especially with the really brilliant starting pitching that you've had, and it has been great. That is all you can ask for your entire rotation, 1 through 5. They've done their jobs. The bullpen has faltered, the defense has now faltered, and the hitting has certainly been mediocre. And again, they had a couple of the feast or famine games, Benny. Those feast games do make the offense look a little better than it actually is.
Sure,
anytime they feast, you're like,
they've had 8 or 9
out.
innings where they've scored at least 3 runs
right.
in just one inning. And now they've had 5 games out of 12 that they've scored 2 in those games.
Yeah.
So obviously they have games where they have big innings and they score a lot, and they have games where they just
love those.
Can't get going. Sounds very familiar, actually.
Yeah, very familiar.
Here's Mike Schilt from yesterday post game talking about another 1-run game.
Today, a lot of good at bats. We just couldn't execute. They got a big time ground ball guy over there, and he was able to put us on the ground a lot when we had traffic. And we had a lot of opportunities, just couldn't get did some things well. Had some good at bats, and then just couldn't open it up. So it's just about execution at the end of the day.
Yeah, I thought Mike Schilt was trying, like when they had 2 on and Higashioka was up, and last time he was in that situation, he grounded into a double play. So they said, let's bunt. I mean, Logan Webb should be a guy you can bunt. I mean, single baller. I mean, it's made for a bunt. Couldn't get it down. Couldn't get the runners over. That might have cost the Padres the game right there. And yeah, I mean, he's the 9-hitting backup catcher. Probably, doesn't bunt a ton. Is that the right decision or the wrong decision? He might have hit a 3-run homer there if you had let him hit. You never know. But I think it was a smart call by Mike Schilt to have him lay down the bunt, and it didn't work either.
It's just execution, like you said. It sucks, man.
All right, we will get to some of the other 2 games of the weekend. We'll play a little Take on Woods. Start our second hour when we return here on San Diego's #1 sports station. Ben and Woods back next on 97.3 The Fan. It seems like we've hit a nerve or pushed a button of some sort because our lines started lighting up during the break. 833-288-0973. Why not? Let's let the tier ones have a say. We asked, you blaming Mike Schilt, you blaming Johnny Brito, you blame Ha-Sung Kim for yesterday's loss, a game they should have won. Would have been a great win. If they had won yesterday's game, would have been a great win. We would feel pretty good about the start. Not great, but it's 6-6. Facing the Dodgers and the Giants mostly, two teams that you expect to contend against for the playoffs this year. You would have felt all right about a 6-6 start.
No
Very
question.
different show this morning based on one ball being held in a glove that was already in a glove. It's very weird how baseball just plays with your emotions like that, and I see our tier ones want to talk about it. So let's go out to the phone lines here to start our 7 o'clock hour, and then we'll play some Take on Woods in a couple of minutes. But Steve is calling in this morning. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, you guys frustrate me a little bit. And
Shocker.
It's like you guys are looking around up in the sky all over trying to figure out what's wrong with this team. I'll tell you what the number one problem with this team is Manny Machado. Okay? And nobody wants to see – when I look at I've been watching every game too, and most of these guys are pretty much doing their job. The one guy on this team that's not doing their job is Manny Machado. I think he's 1 for 15 or something in the last 4 games. Crucial situations coming up, not getting the job done. Same problem last year. He's supposed to be the star. He's not. He hasn't been. He wasn't last year. He hasn't been this year. I mean, you guys you guys look around trying to figure out what's wrong. I can tell you if he just gets 1 or 2 hits out of the last 4 games, we win those games. So why don't we look at where the real problem is? In my opinion, most of the guys are coming through. Paul Parr's doing his job. Cronenworth's doing his job. Most of those guys are doing what they're supposed to do. Machado has been the bust he was last year. He is this year.
So
the other point I want to make
Sure.
is Johnny Brito is the Luis Garcia of last year. I felt that when he came in yesterday. And I don't know why he's still pitching.
Hey, Steve, what do you do? Because there's Abraham in the chat saying the same thing. I mean, I said it Friday. The dude's got to get it going. I mean, he's got to get it going. What do you do? What is your solution when Manny Machado tells you, I'm good enough to play, like I'm healthy enough to play? What do you do? Do you send?
What I would have done, and I said it yesterday before the game, I'd have sat him. Okay, and put somebody else in and maybe use them as a pinch hitter or something. Something's got to change. You just can't keep putting him in the 4th spot and him not getting the job done over and over. It's like these stars. Everybody's the manager's afraid to mess with him at all. With the psyche or something.
For sure, and I agree with that. And I will say this.
Also,
I mean,
who are you going to put in there?
That's the thing. Is like
you're going to put Sugar in there.
So he had the single in the first inning, came around to score, right?
Correct.
Hit another ball. Hit another ball, 110 miles an hour. Barreling a little bit is a good sign. That being said, you're right, man. Like, he's not going to go 4 for 4 every night, but a 2 for 4 with a couple of ribs out of your cleanup spot is not a ton to ask for.
Steve is not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Manny's cold right now. He's not taking great swings. He's in a slump, as baseball players do at different points in the season. Manny is susceptible to, I think, a little bit more. His slumps are slumpier. His hot streaks are hotter than most guys. And for good or bad, if you want to go through the Manny hot streak, and you do, you know what it's like, Padres fans. You know what it's like when Manny is hot. He can put a team on his back and just be as absolutely dangerous as any batter. But you'll never know if he's just sitting on the bench every day. You can't wait and, Steve's idea was to bench him for a day. Fine, you can give a guy a day out, but he's just back in the lineup tomorrow. You're not sitting Manny for a week.
Right.
Just like how you have to keep him going out there to try to get him going. Because ultimately, you need your $300 million, $350 million key one of your core players out there playing almost every day. Sure, you can give him a day off, and maybe yesterday someone else would have come through, but the percentages say Manny has to be out there 158 games.
I mean, is that crazy to say? Is that excuse making for Manny Machado, right? Like, I don't think that it is.
It's not. He's cold. He'd probably be the first to tell you that hasn't put good swings right now on the baseball, a lot of them. He's got a couple of home runs, and he could 3 good days and he'll be fine. But right now, he's definitely been part of the offensive problem. Kim has been part of the offensive problem as well. Kim, who is like everybody's favorite baseball player in San Diego, has had a really crummy start to the season for him after having a great year last year. And they are both part of the problem. Let me get Corey in here as well. Oh, no, he's going to do Take on Woods. Let's do Ron, and then Corey will play some Take on Woods in a second. Ron, welcome to Ben and Woods.
Good morning, fellas.
Hey, buddy.
This is the Ron that Woods doesn't like.
Hey,
guys.
That doesn't narrow it down.
That's not fair. Maybe I don't like you as well,
Yeah.
Ron.
Yeah, I know. Probably not. Hey, guys, look. My kid calls me in the bottom of the 7th inning yesterday, and he goes, the Padres are going to mess this game up, right? You can just feel it. You can feel it coming. And the thing I don't understand is why Ha-Seong Kim, he didn't take care of the baseball on that tag. You have to make sure and take care of the baseball and not drop it like you're in high school learning your way. I mean, these guys are pros. The second thing is, I would like to see Ha-Seong Kim back up in the lineup spot.
Leadoff, you mean?
Bogarts hits it. Yeah, that in the leadoff spot. And you got to keep Manny in there. You got to get Manny his reps. The guy's going to come around. He usually does. And the other thing that really irritated me about yesterday is with first base open, why didn't he walk Chapman?
Yeah, I said the same thing.
He's been killing us.
Yeah,
he's been killing us.
He's been murdering us. Yeah, 3-1 fastball.
Chapman is not. No, Conforto's been killing us.
Chapman's
been ice cold. He's been slumping. He is in a massive slump until
he's killed us.
He wasn't.
Though. Yeah.
But the last week, he didn't. In the first 2 games, he didn't do anything though, and he didn't do anything in their series before. So he had been slumping, and Tyro Estrada had gotten you on Friday. I mean, that might be part of the equation, and you got righty there. I don't know. We're going to have a lineup conversation later in the show today that involves Ha-Seong Kim and also involves Jackson Merrill and his position in the lineup, and we'll have some sound from what Mike Schilt had to say after the game, after Jackson Merrill's 4-for-4 performance. Are you getting the most out of him in the 8 or the 9 slot most days, or is it time to put more on Jackson Merrill's plate? And we will have that conversation. Again, you're not wrong.
Hi, this is Jackson Merrill.
Ha-Seong Kim needs to hold on to that ball. He absolutely has to hold on to that ball. Now, just like with the Manny conversation, what do? Do you bench him? I mean, you going to find another Gold Glover to put in there? He won the Gold Glove last year. He's a phenomenal defensive player. You don't have someone better than him to put in there.
Nobody wants to hear that.
You have to ride with him.
Nobody wants to hear this is what you have. You're not going to send Manny Machado down. I'm seeing this in the chat. Send him down.
It's not even possible, but even if it were, you wouldn't do it.
You
don't have anyone better. Your stars have to perform, or you're going to have a crummy season if your stars don't perform. Now,
it's maddening already. Well, how many games in are we?
12.
Maddening. It's maddening.
But in 4 games, they will be 10% of the way through the season. Yeah. It's not nothing. Still early, but it's not nothing. You start to get a feel for your team of what you got and what you don't have.
Bryce Harper started the year 0 for 11 or 12 or something, and then he busted out and hit a couple home runs. They're not going to.
Manny will bust out at some point.
I think
always
I
does.
Feel the same way.
I hope it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's.
And I think the real discussion is, until that time, does Mike Schilt need to change his order a little bit to maximize the guys who are hot right now? Or do you stick around with the guys where they are to keep everybody comfortable and keep the guys who are performing well?
Is that definition of insanity type stuff with a low-performing offense?
Remember, if you change everybody in the order, you could just as easily stop the guys from who are hot.
Right.
Like Jackson Merrill all of a sudden, puts a lot of pressure on himself batting in the 2 or 3 hole, right. And now he's not hitting the way he was, and now you've made yourself worse by changing the lineup, trying to make it better.
Listen, the only thing that solves any of this is to win baseball games, and that's the unfortunate part for all of us.
We'll have that discussion coming up later in the show today, and hear from Mike Schilt about his lineup construction and Jackson Merrill in particular. Right now, though, let's get to another week of Take on Woods. All right, Take on Woods. This is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. And as I teased a moment ago, we have Corey as our contestant today. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning.
All right, let's get you qualified for the trip for two to Las Vegas at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and tickets to Kool and the Gang. Residency by popular demand. They are back. Your tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. All right, here are the categories for Take on Woods today. Bring back chow time. Those are answers that include the word eat. Light and dark. Those are the two key words in those song titles. And our new category, if you know, you know. And those are 5 song titles, including the word no, K-N-O-W. So, chow time, light and dark, and if you know, you know. Corey, what would you like to play?
Let's do if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right. This one might be a tougher one. We'll see. 60 seconds to answer as many of the 5 as you can. Then Woods goes. If you beat or tie him, we will put you into the drawing for the trip to Las Vegas. You can always pass if you don't know an answer. We'll come back to it. First question is the 2-second song. Paulie is queuing it up right now. You need to identify both the song title and the artist to score that point from the little clip. Corey, are you ready to play?
Yes, I am.
Paulie, in your pitching ninja shirt, are you ready
I
to
am ready to go.
All right, here we go. 60 seconds on the clock. The category, if you know, you know. Corey, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Woods.
I want you to know.
Pass.
Gautier and Kimbra go back and forth in which bitter hit song from 2011?
Somebody that you used to know.
Correct. Saving All My Love for You, Greatest Love of All, and which other song with a question in the title all went to number 1 for Whitney Houston in her 1985 debut album?
Pass.
Which hit debut single from Norah Jones in 2002 is actually a cover of a 1999 song by Jesse Harris and the Ferdinandos?
Pass.
Which 2013 song was a breakthrough hit in the United States for the Arctic Monkeys and earned them a Best Rock Performance Grammy nomination?
Do you want to know?
Do I want to know? I'll give you that one.
Do I want to know?
Let's go back to the song.
I want you to know.
I'll pass.
All right, you did get the 2, sort of. It's do I want to know, not do you want to know.
I think
But
you knew
I
that
like to
one.
be
Give it to
generous.
him, yeah.
The song there was You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette. How Will I Know is Whitney Houston. How will I know if he really loves me? And then Norah Jones' song is Don't Know Why. But you got the other 2. We'll see how Woods does with the same 5 questions. Let's bring him back in. He can't hear me. We're soundproof. So snapping does nothing because he can't hear that. So we just have to wave our arms wildly until he recognizes us. I'm like snapping, thinking, well, you can't hear us. It's soundproof. That's not going to help at all. Let's go. Let's go.
Sick kid at home. Go figure. Shocker. Oh, man. Never ends.
Which one?
All right, Corey's score is locked in. We add to the difficulty for Woods, who's very good at this game, by not giving him the category. Let me get you there on the camera. All right, 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Corey.
I want you to
It's Alanis Morissette. Oh, God, I'll come back to it.
Gautier and Kimbra go back and forth in which bitter hit song from 2011?
Somebody that I used to know.
Correct. Saving All My Love for You, Greatest Love of All, and which other song with a question in the title all went to number 1 for Whitney Houston in her 1985 debut album?
Saving All My Love for You.
Greatest Love of All, and which other song?
I Will Always Love You?
No.
Oh,
which
question
hit
mark,
debut
crap.
single from Norah Jones in 2002 is actually a cover of a 1999 song by Jesse Harris and the Ferdinandos?
What? Come Away With Me?
Incorrect.
Wow.
Which 2013 song was a breakthrough hit in the United States for the Arctic Monkeys and earned them a Best Rock
Do I Want to
Performance?
Know?
Correct. Go back to our 2-second
You Ought
song.
to Know. Alanis Morissette.
Correct. And saving all. Oh no, you already.
I
That's
didn't get
it.
that one.
So we got 3, but that is a narrow 3-2 win.
Ooh, God.
For Woodsy in the
It's a
category.
jumbled mess.
If you know, you know. It was a tough category. No was the You Ought to Know. Somebody that I used to know. How Will I Know is Whitney Houston. Don't
How
know,
Will I Know?
And Don't Know Why is the other Norah Jones. You were right. That was her other big hit, but the Don't Know Why is the one with No in the title by Jesse Harris and the Ferdinandos. Had no idea, never heard of them.
Me neither.
And I knew you get the Arctic Monkeys because I think you like the
Monkeys.
Arctic
Very
Monkeys.
much.
So
Very,
you did
very
get
much.
that one. And Corey, thank you for playing. You can try again later this month, but no qualifier for Las Vegas today.
Good
All right.
job, though.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a well-played, tougher game, but well-played game. All right, we've got Don't Do This coming up next.
The San Diego Padres offense. No,
that's not fair. So I am. I actually thought this was a huge do this, but just for me, for everybody else, it would be a giant don't do this. And I'll tell you what I mean next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan. All right, full transparency here. We were trying to come up with something here for Don't Do This. Was going to be a draft, possible draft pick arrested. We get all kinds of stories like that. And they're fine, but this one is actually better. So during our break, JR,
about 30 seconds ago,
our fantastic engineer who keeps this place running, comes in and says, "Woods, did you get my text on Friday?" He goes, "No, I didn't get it. You really need to change your LinkedIn bio. I got a big anniversary notice from you from my LinkedIn account on Friday. Congratulations on 6 years at the mighty 1090.
It's been a hell of a run for me here, the mighty 1090.
Your LinkedIn account has lasted much longer than the radio station now has.
It has. I changed it. I saw that because I kept getting DMs saying, "Hey, congrats on your work anniversary." What are they talking about? And then it says mighty. Look, Ben and Woods, co-host Odyssey, right?
It does, right on your bio.
I hate LinkedIn.
I would say there's almost 100% chance that mine is wrong, too, because I don't go to LinkedIn at all. I have the account, but, I have thousands of connections, of which I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all those connections. I don't even know where. Sports director at KGTV. Well, that is still correct.
Well, yeah, that's been 20 years in the making or whatever.
Yeah.
This one.
That's because I set up my LinkedIn account a long time ago. And
you like how you set up your LinkedIn account.
Never updated it with any of my radio jobs whatsoever. So
I don't know what to do. I changed it. It's not working. So at the end of the day, I don't really care very much. I was going to tell everybody, though, Ben, about this is a dumb.
All right.
When this happens, this is so dumb.
I'm looking. I think you got it all set up right.
I thought I did. I know I'm a boomer.
LinkedIn is wrong. LinkedIn is wrong, and they get the don't do this then.
This is just the dumbest. These are the dumbest people when they do this, man. The draft is coming up, Benjamin. T'Vondre Sweat is one of the top defensive lineman prospects in the draft class. Was arrested in Travis County, which is down in Austin. He went to UT. Got him for DUI. Right before the draft. He won the 2023 Outland Trophy winner. He's projected to be a second or third round pick in the draft later this month. And, he walked out of jail, had a towel and a face mask over his head. They asked him to answer any questions. He said, "We're not talking about the incident." And it's just like, holy cow, man. You got to. The draft it's the biggest day of your life. It's what you've been working for. You want to be an NFL player. Not that it's going to, it's only going to hurt him in the end. Will he still get drafted? Yes, of course. It's the NFL. Of course he's going to get drafted. He probably cost himself a little bit of money and could have hurt somebody in the process.
You never know. This one seems legitimate, but it reminds me of a 2016. Remember Laramie Tunsil?
Yes, the weed mask.
He was supposed to go in the top 5.
Oh, my God.
And he had the gas mask and the bong, and that came out 10 minutes before the draft.
Literally 10 minutes.
He dropped to 13th. Now, it turned out to be a genius move because it's saved what I think the Dolphins got him. He's now the highest paid offensive lineman in football.
Yeah, it's
He's
not
terrific.
necessarily the same, though, because while the video existed,
it existed. Somebody had it and they were
sitting hacked or something, and somebody posted. It's not like
this is real.
Like this guy
is real.
Went out and was driving drunk.
That's so dumb.
Can't do that.
Can't do it.
I've never thanked anyone for a don't do this before, but I have to thank Fred Warner of the San Francisco 49ers, Mission Hills High School, San Marcos, who was invited. You might have seen it before the Giants-Padres game. Opening day, Oracle Park on Friday. And he was invited, along with his teammate, Deebo Samuel, to throw out the ceremonial first pitch. Ben and Woods style, out on the mound. They got out there with their Giants jerseys on. And I will say, Deebo Samuel threw a terrible first pitch. It was way off the target. But nothing compared to the one that Fred Warner threw, which if you're on our YouTube stream, you're going to see it in just a second. So you've got the two catchers, one on each side of home plate. Fred Warner spikes it so badly, it doesn't even get halfway there and misses on the opposite side of the wrong batter's box where it bounces across and goes all the way to the backstop. It is absolutely horrific and makes my first pitch to Johnny Brito look pretty darn accurate compared to that one. Did you see that, Woods?
I'm looking at it right now on the YouTube feed.
He throws it about 20 feet straight into the ground.
Straight down.
Now
and about 45 degrees to the left.
Now they're elite athletes.
They're elite athletes.
Oh my God. All Well, listen, they're elite athletes. You're not. They are. But take great solace in knowing you threw a much
Thank you
better
to a
pitch.
good San Diego guy in Fred Warner for getting me off the hook for worst opening week ceremonial first
Is it Matt
pitch.
Williams? He just watches it.
He just watches. He doesn't even try.
Not
It's
even
like
close.
this.
Not getting that one.
This was fantastic. I saw this over the weekend.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
So, one of the Angels players, Nolan Shanuel, he's reached base in all 36 games he's played. It's a streak dating back to last season. That's pretty cool, man. You get called up to the big leagues, you're on base for every game that you've been called up. So, Baltimore reliever Mike Baumann committed an error on a play last week, and it looked like an infield single. Well, they then changed it to an error.
Days later.
Days later, ending the streak. He then reached base again Saturday night, would have extended the streak to 37 games. Well, look, it is a cool thing, but it's not like he was Joe DiMaggio's hit streak here. It's an on-base streak. It's really cool. Don't get me wrong. Wayne Randazzo, though, the play-by-play announcer for the Los Angeles Angels, he lost his mind when he heard about this. And he went on a rant so good about the state of Major League Baseball. I listened to it. I went, where's the
He
lie?
expands a little bit
Yeah, he
here,
does
yeah.
expand a little bit. Where's the
Negative
lie?
story after negative story, scandal after scandal, a fiasco in Oakland. You have these ridiculous-looking jerseys. You have the MLBPA challenging the league about the pitch clock today because of constant pitcher injuries, and yet, not to mention your global superstar is embroiled in a betting scandal. But on top of all of that, you have a young player trying to make a name for himself who has come up and reached base safely in every single game that he has played, and the league allows this scoring change to go on to end his streak, kill this story, a positive story that's happening in Major League Baseball. It is an absurdity.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about all the positivity from all over the social media world, how it impressed everybody to start your career. He was just in college last year. He was still playing in college baseball at this point. And then to have that taken away on a base hit. It was a base hit.
It was a clear hit. It wasn't even really a borderline call. It was a clear base hit.
You know, like I said in the pregame show, the NBA doesn't take an assist away from LeBron James, and he's got a triple-double, and he's trying to add on that record. This doesn't
Nolan
happen.
Shanuel is LeBron James.
That's when I was like, who the hell are they talking? I was like, did Mike Trout do something that
Yeah,
I
I had
missed?
to go back and
Because that's a
look.
fair comp, I
Sure.
suppose.
I guess.
All right. I will look at this on both sides. Usually when they go back and change something, it's from an error to a hit. It's like, you know what? Let's just give that a hit. Yeah, the fielder doesn't deserve an error. It was a tough play. Everyone's really happy except the pitcher, whose ERA might go up a tick. So usually it goes the other way. It's very unusual after the fact on a play that was not a routine play for them to go and change it from a hit to an error. That is unusual. But on the other side, I didn't know what was going on with Nolan Shanuel at all until this.
I didn't
He
either.
actually is getting more attention because they changed the rule.
Absolutely
no idea.
Right. Which is why I had to go back and look. Who the F is he talking about? I have no clue.
So in a way, Major League Baseball has highlighted a young player much more than he was getting highlighted before by making this weird scoring change after the fact.
And you know, he's absolutely right. It's been a really rough start to the baseball season, not just for Padres fans. It's been a rough start for MLB as a whole. And this, MLBPA filing, we're going to talk about this. We're going to save it, though, for tomorrow because there's about an hour's worth of material to talk about this rash of injuries. And a couple of huge names went down over the weekend. Strider for the Braves, they put him on the 15-day IL. I think we all know what's coming, right? I think we know what's coming.
Bieber.
I almost said Justin Bieber. I almost said it. Shane Bieber is out for the season. It's brutal. Garrett Cole is out. He's tentative for
rehabbing.
June.
He's
He's
coming
rehabbing.
back, yeah.
But is he? We are so conditioned now for the rash of injuries in baseball for our starting pitchers. It is just a bad look for the league. And there's a bunch of people pointing fingers, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. I mean, there's so much to cover on it.
And that is don't and do this for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Don't Do This brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sorrento Valley. The Craft Taco has some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com. Take a look at their happy hour specials today, thecrafttaco.com. All right, when we come back, we've got Saturday's win, 4-0. Nice performance, but still didn't add on offensively. And another painful 3-2 loss to discuss from Friday night as well, from the Padres weekend that was in San Francisco. And then we'll talk a little college basketball coming up as well with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are 100 minutes into the show. I haven't even mentioned it's Masters Week yet.
That's very good. I don't think
thought
anyone wants to hear about it
discipline
right
that
now.
I have
Let's see
shown
if we can make it 300 minutes.
so far. Well, now it's over. I've mentioned that it's Masters Week. It's early. I'll be fine for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But I did want to at least get it on record that I am aware that it is Masters Week.
I mean, I think we all are. I'm ready too.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Of course.
But we want to talk some more Padres here, get into Saturday and Friday's games after we spent a good deal of time talking about yesterday's 3-2 loss to the Giants. We'll get to that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Getting reports of a muffler in the right lane on northbound 5 just before Mile of Cars Way. Also traveling on northbound 15 before Miramar Way. Some sort of debris in middle lanes. Crash clearing on the southbound at 15 right before Deer Springs. And South 5 Coastline Birmingham off-ramp crash in the clearing stage. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
What's baseball really like? Well, I mean, for us, it's usually sadness.
Yeah, painful.
Join former Padre and MLB All-Star Brett Boone and his big league friends on his podcast, The Boone Podcast. 3 days a week, Brett talks with Hall of Famers, fellow All-Stars, friends, get their take on today's game and to relive the greatest stories from when they played. Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Ken Griffey Jr., the list goes on and on. Tony Gwynn Jr. Follow The Boone Podcast in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. So Padres did win one of the 3 games, of course, over the weekend.
Yes.
It was Saturday night when actually got a little lucky in the first inning on a blooper by Xander Bogaerts to start the game that was lost in the sun in center field, and ultimately it led to a bases-loaded situation for Jurickson Profar, our good friend Jurickson, who pulled one down the line and just over that high wall inside the pole at Oracle Park for a grand slam. And that was it for the scoring as the Padres won 4-0. Michael King, 7 innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts.
Fantastic.
Really sharp performance by Michael King. And the Padres did get that win, although, again, they might not have had that rally without a little bit of good fortune, and they were not able to add on against Keaton Wynn, not exactly the ace of the staff for the San Francisco Giants either. So a good win, but also continuation of some of the same issues we've seen for the Padres dating back to last season.
I mean, what a great. We needed that swing from Pro so badly. That, Ben, was our only at bat with a runner in scoring position on the night.
1 for 1.
Nice for 1.
Clutch team.
I mean,
batting 1,000.
We do not complain about wins, no matter how you get them. I don't care how you get them. As long as you get them, yes, you can look at that and go, what the hell happened after the first inning? And that's what everyone's kind of scratching their heads about with this team. It just, and I don't get the sense.
Now Jackson Merrill hit a couple of really rope balls, and Jung-Ho Lee made a nice play diving into the wall, and I think he got, with the wind blowing, there was a couple that got knocked down.
Yep.
So that happens in San Francisco. It's not a great hitter's park.
It's definitely not a great hitter's park at all. That being said, if you want to pick that one apart, I don't get the sense that they're like, oh, cool, we can cruise now after 4 runs. I mean, I don't get that sense. I don't know that. You always know the other team's a couple swings away, and the game gets really, really fast, and you start to lose it. And we've seen that happen plenty to this team. But listen, it's a win. Michael King was great. Something to build off for him. So, very, very happy about that dub. What else is there to say? And I think the highlight of the night for me was anytime we get the Korean call for a home run, it is simply the best audio that you will hear.
Remember, Ha-Sung Kim set up that grand slam by drawing a nice walk to bring up Jurickson Profar in that situation.
Now, Jesse Agler doesn't get upstaged very often.
No, he doesn't.
But let's compare.
Profar, switch hitter, batting left-handed, swings to the first pitch, skies it deep down the right field line. Yastrzemski is back to watch. This one is gone! A grand slam for Profar. Tucked it inside the pole down the right field line, and Jurickson's first home run of the season is a big one. 4-0 here in the first.
You could tell Jesse got a little surprised that it got out.
We all did.
Because instead of his usual, gonna go, he kind of gave it a gone. Like, whoa, I thought maybe too high. Gonna go foul.
I definitely thought it was going
neither
foul.
of those things happened, and it stayed fair. First, Padres had their first Grand Slam, remember, last year. Gary Sanchez, August 15th.
Well, I hope that trend continues.
At least
I would like Slam Diego to
a little
live
bit
again.
earlier this year on April 6th is better than August 15th.
Nice to cross that, check that box.
check that
Now,
box
how about a 4-game winning streak, guys?
Yes.
How about a 2-game winning streak?
I'll take a sweep.
Actually, they have 1-2. It happened with a week between the games.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they do have 1-2-game winning
Correct.
streak.
True. All right. Well, that was Jesse Agler. Here is the Korean call of Jurickson Profar's Grand Slam on Saturday.
주릭슨 프로파 6번 타자. 초구를 당겼습니다. 오른쪽 높게 그리고 멀리 펄펄. 야! 안쪽이에요. 주릭슨 프로파의 그랜드 슬램이 터집니다. 스코어 4대0.
야, 프로파로도 시즌 한 2자리 정도는 칠 수는 있거든요.
네.
한 방 보여줬어요.
와, 야, 지금은 말루 이후에 축구를 노리고 들어온 게 상당히 좋았던 것 같고요.
그렇습니다.
야, 1회 그랜드 슬램.
My favorite part is like you heard Jesse's, and it's Jesse. Jesse's making the call. The Korean broadcast is like, we're both going to talk. I'm going to talk, and you're going to talk.
Is there just two of them? Is there more?
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
But I think it's so fascinating.
It's like it sounds at least 3 or 4 people.
주릭슨 프로파의 그랜드 슬램이 터집니다.
It's so good. Like if you're okay, so we have a program director, and every broadcast, Mud and Don have a boss, right? And I'm sure he's said to them before, hey, in the 4th inning, you guys just make sure you don't step on each other. Don's trying to read a liner. Make sure you don't step on that Mud. Mud says, no problem, you're right. Whatever. You step on each other sometimes.
Yeah, Jesse and Tony are so polite about it. When someone even does a tiny bit, they'll like apologize on it.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that.
I spoke when you were talking.
And so I'm wondering, do they have a boss that's like, hey, he's making the call?
Or is their boss just like, hey, do whatever you guys want?
Do whatever you guys want. Because like, all right, Ben, do some play-by-play for this home run, and I'll be his partner. And you make the noises in the background. Hold on, one sec.
Ready?
I'm gonna because like they just talk over each other the whole time. It's so good.
All right, here we go. Bases loaded. Here's the pitch to Profar. Swung on and driven deep and high down the right field line. Is it going to stay fair?
On your way into work and you want to keep listening to us, even after you park the car, it's the Odyssey app and Odyssey.com.
For Jurickson Profar.
You can. Just download the app or visit Odyssey.com. Search 97.3 The Fan
Jurickson Profar
and click on our show.
Rounds the bases.
Download the Odyssey app today to get started.
Offense in this game. They take the lead over the Giants.
Woo! Tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. for the 97.3 The Fan Roundtable. It drive you nuts. I love it. It's just pure, unadulterated joy in that booth. It just murders me every single time. One guy's just reading. One guy's just reading
their own
liners.
agendas. Just whatever's going on in there.
Just one guy's like, I had a really good weekend. It was really, really fun. Played some golf. It was great.
그리고 멀리
Yeah, it's good. Listen to the Odyssey app. Download it. You can also use the rewind feature. 97.3 The Fan.
주릭슨 프로파의 그랜드 슬램이 터집니다. 스코어 4대0.
I like that Jurickson Profar in Korean is Jurickson Profar.
It's so good.
And what is Grand Slam? What's Grand Slam in Korean? It's just a Grand Slammy?
주릭슨 프로파의 그랜드 슬램이 터집니다.
So fantastic, dude.
Whoa!
So now every
So good.
time I hear one of those calls, I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be listening as a program
That's what
director.
Tony Gwynn Jr. does, too.
No,
except
he
just
just
does
goes,
it really quick. Ooh! This guy just goes, whoa! Just it's kind of the longer version of Tony Gwynn Jr.
It's my favorite. This is my favorite thing of all time. So, yes, Padres did win that game,
Yes,
Benjamin.
but
It was
that
a
came
dub.
after they lost on Friday night, another 3-2 loss. Dylan Cease was better even than his first start. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. He was getting good swing and miss, and the Padres did more against Jordan Hicks than they did the first time around. They got him for 2 runs. He went 7 innings, 5 hits, struck out 5. I think what really drove everybody crazy in that game is that all 3 San Francisco runs scored on free passes. Well, 2 walks and 1 hit by pitch. The only 3 of the game. Giants didn't even get a hit with a runner in scoring position, yet somehow found a way to win that game 3-2. They did what the Padres usually are unable to do, and they found a way to win a game that they probably did not deserve to win, just like they did yesterday as well.
Well, that was the De Los Santos hits him 1 and 2.
Yep,
and
then
next
Tyro
guy,
Estrada had the walk-off
It's the
double, which was a great relay, I thought, by Sugar and Ha-Sung Kim,
Yeah,
and
just a little late.
and just couldn't get Matt Chapman, who was running better than I expected him to be running. I thought with that relay, I thought they had a really good chance to get him at home plate.
That's tough, dude.
There was the interference call on Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, it made
in
sense
that
to
game
me.
that cost the Padres a third run that would have been critical, and there was a lot of discussion. So Fernando was first and third. They just scored a run, and Jake Cronenworth hits what is a grounder to short, but with the runner on third and 1 out, if he beats it out at first, they're going to score that run. There's no way they're going to be able to turn 2. It's just hit too slowly. Jake's too fast. And Fernando goes sliding into second base, straight into second, pops up, and as he's popping up, he kind of falls off the base and bumps into the guy at second. Now, it made no difference on the play at first. Jake was going to be safe either way. He could have not thrown it. He would have been safe, but because of the rules, the way they are written, if you make contact with the runner or with the thrower, the fielder, and you're not touching the base, then that's interference and it's an automatic double play. And it took a run literally off the scoreboard for the Padres. I saw some fans very mad at Fernando, going, that's a flashy play, that's a selfish play, like just slide in there. The sad part is if Fernando had simply tripped halfway between first and second, the Padres have that extra run and they might win that game.
Yes.
But because he was going hard and hustling and getting up and, he almost beat the throw at second.
He almost did.
I think he was kind of thinking, hey, I might be safe. I might need to start running to third here if I'm safe. So he was trying to pop up and keep going.
It was a poor decision by him in that, in the moment he said, yes, I'm going, instead of just sliding hard through the bag, Crony's easily there. You score the run. He did the pop-up slide, which, again, I don't know that I've ever heard a pop-up slide as being called flashy. Like, that's not a flashy play, in my opinion, and I was kind of I was having a hard time wrapping my head around that. It was just a poor decision. I mean, you didn't need to pop up.
No.
You didn't need to interfere.
No. Given perspective, Fernando would have
just
simply
go hard in the back.
Or just trailed off, into the other side and peeled off, and Padres score a run there and continue that rally. And unfortunately, the inning was over. The run was off the board. And because, once again, Padres couldn't add on to the runs that they had scored, it ended up biting them in the butt late in the game when the Giants rallied to tie it and then win it in the bottom of the ninth on the Tyro Estrada walk-off double.
And you look at, like, De Los Santos. I mean, he has the guy set up 1-2, goes in, hits him, and, that's it. And it just finding weird ways to fail at execution at the most opportune time, at the most inopportune time, is just killing this team. And Mike Schilt told us, the attention to detail is something that he preaches. I haven't seen a ton of it, man. When you talk about some of the failed bunt attempts, the sacrifice bunt that you gave away an out last week with Sugar up, it's not gelling just yet. And again, they're treading water. There's no question. Like, they're absolutely treading water. We feel like they should be 500 right now.
Or better.
Or better. But also, you look at how the offense is not performing really, Benny, and you go, I'm actually surprised we won this many. Honestly, like, we're getting back to the feast or famine days, and now the feasts are even getting fewer and far between.
And I think Friday's game is connected with yesterday's game because of what real issue the Padres do have is the right-handed options in the bullpen right now are just not as solid as the left-handers. Now, each left-hander, Cosgrove, Matsui, and Peralta, have all had one outing where they just looked really bad. For Matsui and Peralta, they had the one where they couldn't find home plate and couldn't find a release point, and Cosgrove had the one where he gave up the 6. But every other outing, they've all been really solid when they've come in. It's been much more dicey with the right-handers, and that is, Suarez has been pretty good, but outside of the closer, your setup righties, Brito, De Los Santos, Kolek's actually been decent, but again, the Rule 5 guy, he had one that didn't look great, and then there's Avila as your long guy. It's just been There's no right answer right now for Mike Schilt when it comes to the right-handers out of his bullpen.
Yeah, no question about it. And so you do wonder when there's going to be. Let's talk a little bit, maybe next break, about the consistency of Mike Schilt, and is that a problem for the San Diego Padres? Because, a couple of years ago when Tingler was here and he was juggling the lineup every day and people were losing their minds, well, the Dodgers ran out, 158 different lineups that year, and they won a ton of games. Like, what do we want? Do we want consistency or don't we want consistency from our skip?
We got some sound from Mike Schilt on that, on Jackson Merrill, and whether he's going to be moving up in the order. All that coming up in the second half of Ben and Woods. Got some NCAA talk as well. Do not go away. It's a Monday morning, an Eclipse Monday on 97.3 The Fan.
Halfway home on a Monday, Ben and Woods 97.3, The Fan. And people want outrage this morning. I'm going to try to, I'm mostly just sad. Like I'm like depressed. It's hard for me to manufacture outrage, but I'll try. I'm going to try for you. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer. Ben Higgins, never really outraged.
I'm outraged on the inside.
Sometimes you are outraged on the inside.
Let it out every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No. We won't get mad.
He let it out at me last week. I didn't like that very much, but someday he will snap and it will be glorious. I just hope it's not at me.
I'm much too reasonable.
You are.
I am so reasonable.
People do not like reason, and they think if you're reasonable,
and it's
then
not just
you're
in
soft.
sports. It's in everything. I am
too reasonable.
I am so very reasonable.
I'm not really reasonable. I'm not.
I like to put myself in other people's shoes.
Speaking of shoes, we know this about me. We know this, that I have a bit of boomer in me. A bit.
Just a bit. It grows as I think you age. You think you're immune to it?
Yes.
But
I'm so
we're
cool
not.
and hip. No.
We're not.
And when it comes to baseball, he lives in me a little bit. Now, there's so much about the new way to analyze.
You're not Goose.
No, I'm not.
You're not there.
No,
but,
I'm not.
there. We all start creeping that direction.
You're a nerd too.
As we get older.
And I feel like I feel him in me. The TV show, The Incredible Hulk. Mine's like the Incredible Boomer.
You won't want to see him.
You don't
when he's boomer.
That's exactly right. And he comes out, and I'm like, I try to tamp it down, and it's the shirt starts to rip, and the boomer starts to
the veins
come out,
popping out,
and it's like I have the worst takes of all time.
You don't turn green, you turn goose.
I turn red. My ears start to burn, and he just comes out of me. That boomer lives inside me. Like I think it's cool. I think we have cool players, but I don't care about cleats anymore. I just want wins. I just want wins. I honestly I don't care about anything else. I don't care about social media content. I just care about wins. That's literally. Does that make me a boomer?
Reasonable me will say, and I get the emails about Fernando Tatis Jr.'s
It's
signature
not just
cleats.
him. It's all around baseball.
And reasonable me will say, this was set up before the season.
Sure.
He's not sitting there every night designing and planning what cleat they're going to wear. They just put him in his locker. He wears them. Someone else sends out a press release about him. It's cool. It promotes the game. There's no reason not to do something like that when you're Fernando Tatis Jr.
Even just saying him. I'm
I know.
saying everybody. He lives in me, though.
Did you put a green filter on Woods? I was just going, what's wrong with our camera?
No, you didn't.
Paulie, there's something wrong with the camera. And I realized, he's turning green like the Incredible Hulk on
the Incredible Boomer
on our YouTube stream.
You won't like him.
You won't like him when he's
mad
boomery.
about cleats.
I'm mad about everything. I'm mad about everything.
It's genius.
It's
Paul.
the boomer filter.
It's genius.
But I'm so anti-boomer in other ways. I'm like, stop my thing! Stop! I'm begging you! Never square again! If I never saw anyone square to bunts again, I will be fine. Fine! Okay? But there's parts of the pitching stuff where I'm like, bro, I understand why these guys go max effort. I do. I absolutely do. We're going to cover that tomorrow. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not of that guy. Nolan Ryan could go 700 innings. I'm not that guy. I don't expect it of these dudes. I don't. So it's that devil and angel. The angel's no, I love expected batting average. I love barrel percent.
You've had
I
it
love
for a
that
while.
stuff.
I mean, all the way back to when Will Myers was playing his video games with
when he was making fun of Andy Green for making them do drills. The boomer in me was like,
And you also know that they could be doing way worse things with their off time than playing video games.
Oh, it wasn't the video games per se that bothered me. It was, are we so good are you so good you don't need drills?
Doing cutoff and relays tomorrow at 3 o'clock in September, dude. Are you guys gonna do pop-up com too? Oh my god, bro, it's so miserable, man. It's insane.
Will, did you hear they're calling up
Andy could not be any worse than he is right now.
Dude,
hey, I got a mini for you, Grubby. What'd you say, Carl?
Streaming.
Streaming.
Just a dead man. Will had to go in the next to go, hey, I'm so sorry.
Give Will credit. He sighed knowing
I'm dead.
They're going to play this on the radio for the rest.
Hey, I got a mini for you, Grubby. What'd you say, Carl?
Streaming.
I was so mad about that. Like, again, the team was just toiling. And, yeah, man, it's like we all complain about our bosses. I do it on the radio all the time. And it just was like, man, you guys are that good at relays and cutoffs that you don't need the work. And that's that boomer in me. And I know damn well.
And then again, the reasonable me will say, they were out of it. It was September.
Same.
Other teams are not drilling in September.
I know that.
Yes, I know you do.
I damn well know that. And I damn well know that if I was Will Myers, I would have said the same thing. That is the irrational boomer that lives in me. And that green, you can, just start adding the green filter when I start to get boomery about it. I'm like, oh no, here he comes. Like, push him down. Holy cow, man. So yeah, that is, I understand. And the outrage, it's hard to be outraged after 12 games. It is. But the most common thread that I hear and see, and I spend a lot of time talking to Padres fans, a lot, more than I should, that it's just same. The 2023 vibes are starting to creep in, and that's what we needed to avoid, like the plague. We needed to avoid it.
I don't want to be, because I'm very reasonable, and I'm not an alarmist, but I feel like this is a important week for the Padres. Because they're 2 games under 500 now. Fine. It's 12 games. They could have won a couple of them. No big deal. They got 3 against the Cubs at Petco Park. Cubs are hot. They just took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. Then you go up to L.A. for 3 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Things have not gone well at Dodger Stadium. Not just for the Padres, really for any team, but those are going to be tough. If you have a bad week this week and go, 1-5, all of a sudden, you're 6 games under 500, and now I can see.
Now it's tough.
Now you're climbing out of a hole that might take you, even if you play well, a month or 2. You got to get back to 500. You have to tread some water this week. You've got to find a way to win at least 2, if not 3 games. 2 minimum. 3 would be nice. A winning record, that's almost even too much to hope for this week against 2 teams that are playing well and are tough. I would love to see it. If they do a winning record this week, you can say, all right, they've gotten on track here. They are going. This is a tough and potentially problematic week for your San Diego Padres. They need to be on their games, and we'll discuss it. We'll look ahead to tonight's game and the rest of the week a little bit later. But I just want to go on record as even me, early in the season, don't worry about it, Ben, I'm a little nervous about this week for the San Diego Padres. You don't want to dig yourself a hole. They're not in a hole yet. They're in second place. They're not in a hole. Yeah, there's other teams that are doing better. It really is early. But you have a bad week this week, and now all of a sudden you got to get the shovels out.
I said it.
You're not allowed to say that.
Oh God.
If you have a bad week this week, you got shovels and you're trying to dig yourself out for a while. And I do not want to see that. I
am so very encouraged by Jackson Merrill. So very encouraged by the way he swings the bat, the way he takes such pro at bats. I wish, frankly, I wish there were veterans on the team that took the at bats that Jackson Merrill takes. Honestly, like he looks good, he looks really good. Now, he's going to struggle at some point. And so the guys that make the most money, I've said it like a mantra this season, and everyone says I'm so soft, and I've said it from the get-go. As Manny and Tatis and Xander go, stop looking to Jake Cronenworth to be your savior. He shouldn't have to be. Though, as those three guys go, we go. They're the ones that need to get it together. They're the ones that need to hit doubles. They're the ones that need to hit home runs. They're the ones that need to lead this team. We're out here picking apart everything. Well, why is Eggy Rosario? And who cares? Why is Tyler Wade starting again? Who cares? Those guys are the ones that need to lead this team and deliver. You know, they're the ones that make the most money. That's how it goes. In every sport, in every walk of life, they're the ones that got to deliver.
And they will. It just can't all be in the same 50 games.
And it's not going to be
where they then win by 6.
Right.
It's
not going to be 6 months long either. I get that.
They need to be coming through more consistently, and they need to spread it out a little bit. I don't know, you can't plan for such things, but it can't simply be, oh, yeah, Xander was hot 3 games this week, and Manny was hot 3 games this week, and guess what? They were the same 3 games, and they won those 3, and they lost the other 4.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. That's exactly right. So I'm so encouraged with Merrill. I'm so encouraged with the starting pitching in the last week. It feels like, okay, that box feels checked. Yu Darvish needs to go out and have a great game. He's pitched really well this year. Keep that rolling. But, man, I'm telling you, and you guys aren't wrong when you say, like, Manny needs to get it going. Absolutely. And Xander needs to hit something more than a single, you know, and stop getting mad when Jake Cronenworth doesn't deliver. Stop getting mad when Tyler Wade doesn't deliver. You can be mad at somebody. I don't think you need to be mad at them, right? Those aren't the guys that are supposed to lead this team. And the Profar has done great. The bottom of the order has really come through. Campy's been great.
Even Wade's done
at
least
job.
enough
yes.
of what you would ask from someone like Tyler Wade.
But again, like I'm seeing the bench guys are the ones getting roasted. It's like, no. First of all,
they're all making the minimum.
Absolutely, and they're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to really even be playing full time. You know. So again, if you want to point to AJ and say we need more. We need more. That's on him. We need more help in the bullpen. That's on him. You know, I understand that. Schilt gets, I mean, putting the same 6 guys in when they're consistently producing a couple of runs a game, that's something that I would look at. I said it last week. Like, let's not get into such a pattern of, well, I know Tony Gwynn Jr., I heard him talking about it. As an ex-big leaguer, I tend to always defer to those guys. And he said, it is no better feeling than knowing where you are and when. And so it's hard to rationalize, well, let's just move everything around. It's just hard to do. I think I kept the same top 6 on my team, too, since we've started. I think I really have. But I understand the methodology behind it and the psychology of it. But at some point, when do you go, all right, we got to get this dude going. He's going to get better pitches here. Jackson Merrill's earned his way up. But then, do you want a black hole in the 9 spot when you have a guy that is capable of going 4 for 4? You have to have a balanced lineup. Moving Jackson Merrill up to the 5, just in my mind goes, well, who's going to hit 9 now? Is it just out at the bottom?
What if you move him up and he goes 1 for 5, 0 for 4, something like that?
You don't want to really
panic and move him back down.
Yeah, you don't really want to mess with a good thing. So the long and short of it is, I've got no idea, and neither do you.
Let's come back to this, and I do want to play the Mike Schilt audio about moving Jackson Merrill up, but I want to, and I know Paulie put it in our rundown, I want to talk about what was the biggest sports story of the weekend when we come back, because for the first time in my life, the biggest sports story of the weekend was women's basketball. I don't think it's ever been the biggest sports story of a weekend in my entire life, but it was. And people were watching. And my dad was like, I'm excited to get back home and watch a women's basketball game.
Both the men's and the women's Final Four were in championships were this weekend.
And more people were talking about the women's game than the men's game. And I think that is important and something we need to talk about. And we'll do that when we come back after a check of traffic with Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. So the excitement for Caitlin Clark and women's basketball, Iowa, South Carolina, the championship game yesterday was very interesting to me in particular because what it reminded me of the most was Tiger Woods when he first popped onto the scene. But I was on the other side of it. I was already a big golf fan, and I saw all these other people now getting interested in the sport that I had been following already for many years.
Did you hate it, by the way?
I did not. I did. Some people did.
Some people
Remember, some people pushed back against all these new fans. That, they're just coming to see Tiger. They don't really appreciate the game as it is. But this time, I was on the other end. I will admit, I have not watched a ton of women's basketball over the years. But with Caitlin Clark, I've watched, the last 4 games, in their entirety, and got really excited for it. And it has brought me and many other people to a sport that we did not pay much attention to until now. And the numbers were huge. They don't have I don't think they've released the ratings numbers for yesterday's championship game yet. But Friday's national semifinal game, Iowa UConn, that came down to the
last week.
wire.
I told you about the LSU
it was
Iowa
already
game that broke all those records, and this one
broke the record again. 14.2 million viewers, which is better than most sporting events do. Outside of the NFL and a couple of college football games, it was almost as many people as watched the SDSU UConn men's final from last year. A women's semifinal did better in the ratings than almost every other men's game that's been on all season long. So this isn't just media hype. This is people actually going to watch and see what Caitlin Clark is all about. And on Friday night, they were treated to a show. She was great. UConn was great. And the game came down to the wire. And like so many men's games, and one of the reasons we love sports, it came down to controversy and a call, and a one that you can make a pretty compelling case on both sides of whether that should have been called an illegal screen on UConn. UConn down 1, 10 seconds left. They've got the ball. And the referees blow the whistle on an illegal screen on Aaliyah Edwards, and that's basically the game.
That's it.
Gives it to Iowa. They run some clock. They get fouled, and that is essentially the game is over on the referees taking the ball out of their hands. And I saw basketball people outraged, like, you can't make that call there. That is not a call you make in that situation.
That's one of my favorite tropes in sports. And I know I've said it before. You can't make that call there. You've swallowed your whistle the entire, the entire last 15 minutes. You're going to make that call there. When you look at it's very clearly a foul, like very blatantly a foul. Even Scott Van Pelt didn't think it was a foul. Had to go back. He goes, "Yeah, we zaprudered it, and it's very clearly a foul."
It was an illegal screen.
It's an illegal screen. I do,
but
it's tough.
I saw a lot of basketball people going, "Okay, then there should be at least 90 whistles a game. Then if you're going to call that." You should be calling a lot more fouls throughout the rest of the game.
And then
they're not.
Conversely, if you don't call that and then UConn somehow wins, scores, goes to overtime, whatever, then you're still having that same conversation, just the opposite.
How do you not call that? Right? Like, that's very clearly a foul.
It goes back to the fact that the job of a basketball referee, we say, baseball is hard and the strike zone, and that is a hard job.
As hell,
There's nothing harder, I think, than being a basketball referee.
I mean, Chris Ello's a basketball referee. I would love to hear. I'm going to listen and see what his take is on it today. I don't know him that well, but I have a feeling he's going to say you have to call that. You have to call that, right?
I don't think you do. I don't think you have to call it. I don't think it had. I think not calling it has much less of an impact on the game than calling it. I mean, UConn still has to make a shot. That doesn't necessarily even get anyone open. To me, that is a whistle that could be called most times down the court. Screens are very, very dicey. I mean, no one's ever just completely still on the screen.
Correct.
They're always moving a little bit.
This one was
it's a game of movement. No one's ever perfectly still on a basketball court.
So again, though,
what's the fair thing to do? And that's why basketball refereeing is the most art
when you
of
look
any
at
of the
it,
referees.
When you look at it, though, when you slow and you could say this about every call in baseball, basketball, football, whatever. When you look at it, you go, "Oh yeah, I get it." Yeah, or you slow it down. You look at it, you're like, oh, yeah, clearly. It's a foul. And how do you resign yourself? How do you make sense of it if you don't call an egregious-looking foul in that moment? And I know it's a big moment.
To me, it's because the sport of basketball is the only sport that doesn't follow the rule of you have to call everything every time you see it. Because if you did, you would ruin basketball.
The game would be 4 hours long.
The game would be unwatchable. If referees simply followed the rule book, it's the one sport where if referees followed the rule book
to the letter,
the game would be unwatchable. Unwatchable.
Same with football. Football would be
too,
unwatchable. Oh, my God.
7 flags for holding on every play.
It'd be terrible.
Every single play. Football is similar in that it would be unwatchable.
In a football game, every single big moment in the fourth quarter, a Hail Mary, a crazy play, whatever it is, there's holding on that
Pass
play.
Interference, every play, holding every play.
Now, C20 Moreno said it wasn't egregious. Maybe not in full speed.
It was a foul, though.
In full speed, it's not egregious. When you slow it
down,
doesn't
you're like, say in the rule book, you are only supposed to call the egregious fouls. It actually says you call all the fouls. When you see a foul, you blow your whistle, you call a foul. But if they did that, it would be pointless. No one would watch basketball. No one would play basketball. It wouldn't be any fun. As a referee, you have to judge and try to make the game as fair as possible. And to me, the most fair thing in that situation was let that one go and see what happens. And maybe UConn wins it, maybe they don't. Got to trust sometimes that the basketball gods will make it right. Like, hey, you didn't call it, but if they didn't really deserve to win it, hopefully that shot doesn't go in. But that's tough.
Somebody says, does Ben feel the same way about the foul call in the SDSU Creighton in the Elite Eight game last year?
Yeah, probably a little bit. It didn't have to be called.
The letter of the law bit, right, is a tough one because there's a feel that any referee/umpire should have for the game. And I can understand that side, but again, slowed down, you look at it and go, got to call that. I had a spicy-ish tweet over the weekend about baseball, and it was about umpires. Go figure. And there was a series there, like of 2 pitches. The first one was very, very egregiously missed. The batter then said, "Come on, man, that's not close, right?" The very next pitch, even more off the plate, and he rings him up. Why? Because he got his feelings hurt. That's the one that gets me. Making egregious calls, whether it's basketball, football, out of spite, that's the thing that really makes me, you're going to miss calls. You're going to miss balls and strikes, right? But then, like, getting mad at the guy and, you're out. It happens all the time.
Baseball is much more by the book, though. Like, if umpires were charged with just trying to make the game fair, you don't call Fernando Tatis Jr. for interference because it didn't impact the game.
Right.
It would have been, he would have scored anyway.
And that guy would have beaten it out.
The fair thing would have been Jake beats it out anyway. The run scores. The universe would say, all right, we don't call that. But in baseball, you call now especially.
Yeah, now especially.
With replay, you call everything by the rule book. There's no more neighborhood play at second base. They have to do everything by the letter, or they call it, and probably that's the best way to go. But it just doesn't work in basketball.
But the tough part too about it, specifically umpires, is when you're getting chirped on a missed call, to then take an even worse pitch on the next pitch and ring a guy up because you got chirped.
Basketball referees get chirped all the time.
But it's
all the time.
It is, and this is in kind of defense to umpires. Like, we as humans, I get real pissy if you chirp me. Anybody that's ever chirped me knows. I'll fire back immediately. That's out of ego, and that's out of insecurity and fragility. Take that out of the game. You can take all of that out of the game by bopping your head. They go upstairs. All right, you're right. That was a ball. It's my bad. Right? There's no reason to continue this way in baseball. There's too much money at stake. These guys are fighting for careers, etc. Like, just take that off their plate. It doesn't make sense.
Ultimately, though, and we got to go to break here because Sammy's going to join us in season. Sammy, we'll talk Padres. When it goes back to Caitlin Clark, if you hear any argument against Caitlin Clark, it's not against Caitlin Clark. Oh, well, she didn't really set the record because it was a women's basketball with Pete Maravich, or she didn't win a championship, so she can't be the greatest. you're mad at maybe the media coverage of Caitlin Clark, but she has done nothing wrong. She's handled herself beautifully. She's played amazingly. She got to 2 championship games in a row out of like 350 teams. Yeah, didn't win either one of them, but basketball is ultimately it's a team sport, and you can only have so many assists that are blown right under the basket, and she did not necessarily have the teammates to win a title. She got them real close both times.
It was really cool. So South Carolina goes on to win the championship, undefeated season. They are one of the best teams of all time, and their coach, Don Staley, after winning that, got the shirts and the hats on. They're celebrating, and she says, I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark
loving Don Staley
for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport. She's going to lift that league, the WNBA, up. You are one of the GOATs of our game, and we appreciate you.
Very cool.
Congratulations, Caitlin Clark, and congratulations to South Carolina. An undefeated basketball season. I mean, as great as UConn has been, they lost 3 times. It's so hard to win every game in a season in any sport, so way to go. Women's hoops, going to be watching more of it going forward. I'll probably be watching Caitlin Clark in the NBA now, WNBA, when she gets drafted number 1 next week. We'll take a timeout. In-season Sammy will review his weekend that was covering Padres baseball. Our regular Monday visit with Sam Levitt next. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Can tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. for 97.3 The Fans commercial-free Padres Roundtable featuring Ben and Woods, Annie and Elston, Gwen and Chris, presented by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. For takeout or delivery, go to roundtablepizza.com. Roundtable, the last honest pizza. Actually, on Thursday, I got a call from our friend Matt Janella, who goes, "What was that? That hour from 10 to 11, that was awesome. I mean, that was fantastic." So people are liking the Roundtable. Will you be here this week? Any more stitches to get out or anything?
Down.
You're good?
Missed one.
That's fine. I'm going to miss one in a couple of weeks when I'm on vacation.
Who's hosting?
I don't know. I don't think the decision has been made yet. Do you want to throw your hat into the ring?
No.
Well, you got your Fire Pit Collective.
I do not.
Hat on, too. There you go.
Want to throw my hat into the ring.
You don't want to throw your hat into the ring.
I want to sit here and wait for my turn to be called.
I mean, whoever it is.
It's not going to be as good.
Big shoes to fill.
Huge
Even
shoes.
though I don't usually wear shoes.
That's true. Big flip-flops.
Still have big flip-flops to fill.
Maybe Sammy can do it for us.
Maybe Sammy will be the guy. In-season Sammy will join us, talk about the Padres weekend that was, right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your 15-minute instant drive-thru oil change. A couple of problems in the North County. One is a stalled SUV in middle lanes on westbound 78 just past Nordall Road. South 5 Coastline past Leucadia. There is a collision involving a couple vehicles there over the right shoulder. Also a crash on westbound 52 near the 125. Tow trucks on scene. That's in the fast lane. Valvoline Instant Oil Change is your drive-thru oil change. It only takes 15 minutes and you don't have to get out of your car. With all the rain lately, Valvoline is also offering replacement wiper blades. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think one of the always interesting questions early in a baseball season is, what is it okay to react to and overreact to? As we welcome Sam Levitt onto the program. In-season Sammy joining us every Monday during Padres season. Hello, Sam.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, my friend.
People get mad if I say it's early, and I understand why. Every game is important. But there were also some people, Sam, who after one inning decided Matt Waldron should be nowhere near the Padres starting rotation.
Correct.
And after that one inning, he's actually pitched quite well, and I'm certain he's earned himself at least another start in that fifth spot when it comes around again against the Dodgers this weekend. So overreact, underreact, where do you kind of lie on this, and what have you been hearing from Padres fans?
Well, I think as far as some elements of what we've seen so far, there has been probably a little bit of overreaction. I mean, you're right on the Waldron thing, right? I mean, one inning does not make a season, does not make a starting pitcher's open to the season. And obviously one of the bright spots based on what we saw the first time through the rotation, the second time through was terrific from these starters. Unfortunately, the Padres only won 2 of those games. So it is, my point is, it is easy to overreact to individual game-by-game performances, whether that's offensively or pitching-wise. But this is a bit of a different situation when you look at the macro for this team. And I think in particular offensively, and I totally understand, and I listened to the first couple hours of the show this morning, I totally understand your guys' frustration, the fans' frustration, because while there have been some moments that have made you believe and think that this is a different year than 2023, there have also been a number of things that have 2023 creeping in your mind. And I said it on the post game yesterday. You could have taken yesterday's game out of 2023's book directly, right? Ripped the page out, put it on the table, and said, "Yep, that's one of those games in San Francisco from 2023." And that's whether it was miscues late to lose the game, whether that was just a ton of missed opportunities offensively. And I think, unfortunately, for this group, which is led by the same stars, the same core group as it was a year ago, subtracted of Juan Soto and I guess Blake Snell and Josh Hader as well. But the same core group of guys, look, unfortunately, they're really, I think, from the fan base, from what I hear, from what you guys hear, I don't think there's a ton of benefit of the doubt, right? And I think something we talked about during the off season, during spring training, is how important it was to get off to a good start. Now, you talk about overreaction, underreaction. Look, a start to me is not 12 games in a baseball season. Right? You got to get through a month. You got to get through, let's say, 25, 30 games. That's really the early part of the season. And quite frankly, this team could rattle off a few wins in a row, and you feel way better about where they're at. But, you know, this team is dealing with kind of that ghost of 23 almost, right, of what transpired last year on the field, the disappointment of it, and looking for signs and indications that this group this season's a little bit different. And admittedly, the last 6 games or so, what we've seen offensively and just the way they've lost some of these games, yesterday certainly included, it makes you remember what happened last year to the Padres. So I understand it, that you want to try to get as far away from last season as you possibly can. And unfortunately, the start so far, I don't think has really done that. Of course, a start is not necessarily 12 games. But to this point, I think there's been, some memories of last year, and that was something I think we were all hoping to avoid at this point.
And is that fair? No, it's not. It's absolutely not fair. But it is absolutely going to happen, and they know that. And you do wonder, when you talk to any big leaguer, former big leaguer, like, nah, last year was last year, this year's this year. Okay, fine, prove it, right? Like, prove it. I understand. You don't judge me for the guy I was when I was 21, because I'm a different guy entirely, right? But you're looking at these, like you said, it's the same guys. And, when I texted my friend the other day, I said, these guys, they're like avoiding being clutch at all times. He said, well, it's early. I said, but it's the same guys, and like at some point you do wonder, what do you think, Sammy, about the consistency so far of Mike Schilt? Again, I brought up the roundtable. I brought up Tony Gwynn Jr., former player, grew up obviously in the game, and he loves the consistency. I think I do too. But at what point does it become the definition of insanity, expecting different results, doing the same thing?
Well, I think there's a few thoughts on that. I think, number one, right, there are 2 aspects to a manager. That's, what they say behind closed doors, obviously, to the media, kind of how they go about the clubhouse and actually managing the personalities. Managing the personalities behind the scenes, part of being a manager. And then obviously how you construct your lineup every day. And I do think it's a very fair question, just in what you guys talked about earlier, the Jackson Merrill case. I think it's a very fair question with the way he's played and the quality of his at-bats. I think it definitely should be a consideration to move him up at least a little bit in that lineup. So I think the consistency for Mike Schilt, I think we'll see it play out again. And I know no Padres fan wants to hear this, but it is early. It's 12 games in.
Oh boy, you're
okay, but look, the bottom line is that this team is relying on the same guys they relied a year ago. And you can do whatever you want with the lineup. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. But the bottom line, and you guys know this too, is they will go as far as these big guys take them, right? This is still a team that is going to rely on the middle of that lineup to do some very, very special things throughout the course of a baseball season. So, I don't know how much tinkering there is to be done. You guys made the point earlier. Look, Manny's going through a slump right now. Kim's going through a slump right now. Bogarts has not hit the ball well these last 6 games. Runners in scoring position the last 6 games. We kind of, said that was a great strength early on. Well, the last 6 games, they're now hitting 184 in those situations, and they haven't scored more than 4 runs in a week, right? And 4 out of the last 6 games have been just 2-run outputs. That's not going to work on most days. So, again, I know that early word is something that everybody doesn't want to hear, and I totally get it. But I don't know how much day-to-day, at least offensively, how much you can really do, because you're still relying on your stars to be stars. It was that way last year. It's this way. It's that way this year. And look, I think to this point, I think Mike Schilt's done what you can expect of him and that is be upbeat, positive, consistent. Now, if things don't, really head in a positive direction here soon, look, we're going to see, right? What Mike Schilt does, what Mike Schilt says. I'm fascinated to see just the lineup itself. Okay, is Mike Schilt a little bit more willing to shake things up, whether that be by what he says or the lineup, than, let's say, Bob Melvin was a year ago when it was a slow start? We don't have the answer to that question yet, but I do think it's an interesting aspect of what could transpire here in the first month.
Do we have the guns to do it? That's the thing. That's the thing I think everyone's wondering is you can put them wherever you want. Do we have the... If Kim's not hitting and he's in the 5, why would you throw Manny anything he could hit knowing you have Kim on deck? Profar's actually been hitting well, but you take your chances as a pitcher with Jerks and Profar. And after Profar, right. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, he's in the 6 hole. You take your chances really with any 6 hole. You know what I'm saying? There's who is the guy that strikes fear into opposing pitchers right now? It's probably just Fernando Tatis Jr. And again, Jackson Merrill's off to a great start, but he's hit 1 home run. I can live with a single. Especially knowing that Xander's coming up after him, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, who strikes fear into this team? Do we have the guns to be a prolific offensive team? That's what I'm looking to see, and we've paid a lot of money. There's been a lot of money
spent. I'm sure
Manny
still strikes fear into the heart of opposing teams. But like Jorge Soler struck fear into my heart as a Padres fan, and he didn't do that much to damage the Padres necessarily, but he scares me when he's up the plate. Scares me, and the Padres don't have enough consistent power, I think, in their lineup. And is that something they can get from a Brandon Belt or a Tommy Pham? I'm not even sure if that's an option out there. Sam, I mean, I know Tommy Pham's still chomping at the bit, and I think someone tweeted like, "Hey, how long would it take Tommy to be ready if they signed him?" And Tommy replied, "Tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll play tomorrow. I'll be ready tomorrow." But I don't know that Tommy changes anything. If you put him in for Jurickson, you're replacing one of the guys who's actually producing with another guy. That doesn't change a lot.
Right. I think, again, and it sounds so simple and it sounds so basic, but again, when you look at this offense, you just can't look at the top 6 and say that's what is weighing this offense down. And what I mean by that is you can't have that scenario throughout stretches of this season, which is, sort of what you've had here in the last week. I mean, let's be honest. The bottom third's been pretty good. Campusano is batting 7th on a lot of days. He's been good. Wade's been pretty good. Merrill obviously has held his own offensively. He was great yesterday. The bottom third has not really been the issue, again. And it just sounds like the most basic thing ever and the most obvious thing ever, but it's true. That top 5 and 6, I mean, when you look at the guys that are supposed to carry this offense, they got to do it, and they cannot afford to have a lot of stretches collectively like they've had in the last week. And that's not just batting average and a lack of power. That's also runners in scoring position. And like yesterday, just not cashing in on major opportunities. And that always goes up and down the lineup. So, it's the answers I don't think are very dissimilar to last year. The question is, can the answers end up appearing sooner than what they did last year?
Sammy Levitt is with us, yeah.
Well, so, I mean, you're right, man, and I see a lot of anger directed, towards the bottom, and these guys. I'm looking at a tweet one of the Dodgers writers just sent out. The bottom of the Dodgers lineup, James Outman, 34 WRC plus. Gavin Lux, 14. Kike Hernandez, 11 WRC plus, and Chris Taylor, 5. Those are 4 black holes in the Dodgers lineup. Well, guess what's happening? Mookie Betts is as hot as anybody has ever been. Shohei's starting to hit. Freddie Freeman's really good. Will Smith is really good. Max Muncy.
Their stars are carrying them.
Their stars are carrying their team, and that's how it's got to be here, and that's what is possible.
Yeah, you'd rather have Tyler Wade and even Jackson Merrill kind of go into a slump and trade it off for what Manny and Tatis can do at their best, and Xander with some extra base hits. You just would. I'd love to see Jackson continue to play the way he's done, and Campy continue to hit over 300. But you're only going to win games if those guys at the top of your order start hitting. And there's nothing that Mike Schilt or anyone else can really do necessarily to make it happen. It's baseball, and it either will or it won't.
Which is why you have to You have no choice but to keep running them out there and hoping for a better result, and it sucks. It's the worst way to do it. You're not. I saw a guy tweet today, Kim and Manny better be benched today, and I went, what? What? How? How do you do that?
Unless they're tired and need a day off.
Correct.
They have to be in the lineup,
They gotta
actually,
be in the lineup.
as much as possible.
They got to be in the lineup every day.
Sam, good stuff.
Thank you, buddy.
We appreciate it. Have a good week of pre- and post-game shows starting with the Eco Water SoCal pregame show tonight at 5:40 for Game 1 against the Chicago Cubs. Samuel will get you all set for baseball tonight. Thank you, Sam.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. And note those start times.
Yeah,
throughout
weird.
This series. Little bit different tomorrow and Wednesday. So
Tell me
note
in. Tell me.
Yeah.
I want to know.
6:40.
Tonight, okay.
7:05.
Go.
3:40.
All right. So tomorrow is midnight.
No, today.
7:05 is essentially midnight.
Might as well be midnight. That extra 25 minutes?
It's 25 minutes.
No.
It's going to be 10 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to be in the 5th inning, and I'm going to be raging inside.
All right, Sammy, we'll get back to work a little bit later today. We'll come back. Paulie's got a Reindl Report. Had a huge college basketball story that dropped today. He's going to give us an update on that. And then we are going to continue to talk about that lineup issue with the Padres and preview the national championship game tonight. All ahead in our final hour of Ben and Woods. Coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
This quote just broke my heart in two. It makes me very sad that so many people were mean to Ha-Seong Kim yesterday. And there's a quote in Dennis Lin's article. And he says, quote, "I can definitely say that I am human, so mistakes do happen. Hopefully I don't have games like this going forward."
And I think right after
Sweet
the game,
angel.
Mike
Sweet little
Schultz
angel.
said, well,
I'll
he
roll with
proved,
him.
he almost said
Yeah.
he said he proved he was human for once because he makes so few mistakes out on the field defensively that when he does, it is very unusual. And just get them all out of the way.
It's just tough because, well, I mean, it's always hard when the team makes a decision. We're going to move you here for your defense, and your defense is what falters. Right? That's the we blew this one. No, we didn't blow it yet, right? Like Ha-Seong Kim, yeah. If I'm the manager of the San Diego Padres, he's playing shortstop today, and he's playing shortstop every day from here on out. Errors are going to happen, mistakes do happen. Certainly, it sucks when you feel like it really contributes to losing a game. But what are your better options right now? I mean, you do have 9 shortstops on the team, but I feel pretty confident that
you'd be dumb to put anyone else there.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely
ridiculous.
your best
No question.
defensive shortstop.
Which is why they made that move in the first place, right? That's why you do it. So flush that one if you're Kimmy, move on. But the guy takes it to heart. I mean, it's not like – I know he's not performing with the bat right now. OPS of 612 right now. Like, he's hitting behind Manny in a weird spot.
He did have an RBI single yesterday. He's the one guy who he did come through at the plate yesterday. We forget about that.
And it's tough because the guy literally busts his tail. And I think I've said that for a while about some of the guys on the team. Like, losing, you can lose a game if you played hard and you played right. Like, losing, it's just a part of the game of baseball. Nobody's ever gone 162-0. They never will. It's never going to happen, ever. It's never going to happen. You're going to lose games. You have to be okay with losing some games every now and then. It's mental mistakes. It's looking maybe like you don't care. All of those things are what I really, really care about. The boomer in me, as you know. Like,
no one is accusing Ha-Seong Kim of
never
not caring and not trying.
How could you? How could you? That guy gives max effort at all times.
I do see people accusing Manny. Like, I saw someone, he should be ashamed. Manny absolutely cares.
He 100% cares.
He is very dedicated to the Padres, and he wants to win. He does. Now, his body language is very different than Ha-Seong Kim's, but you can't spend your time parsing body language to determine what the motivations of everybody on the team are. I promise you, Manny really wants to win. He cares, and he works very hard, like pretty much almost everybody in that locker room does. I have no doubt about most of their motivations.
So I just saw an article, too, in the same article that I just tweeted out from Dennis Lin. Manny Machado had elbow surgery 6 months ago. Doctors have told him he might not be close to 100% until 2025. For now, he's continuing on a gradual road back to playing third base.
I wouldn't panic about that. He's better off now, though, than he was when the whole thing was absolutely shredded last year before he had the surgery, and he was still playing.
Yeah, he got
with
off
it shredded.
And got off.
He's better than he was last year, I'm sure, health-wise.
He got off to a slow start at the plate last year as well. What do you do? You're not sitting him. You can lament an extension. You can lament all of this all you want. It's kind of a fool's errand. Like, what are you going to do? You have him. He's here, right? And if he feels that he can play, he's going to play. Do they bench him? Who's a better option at DH right now than Manny Machado? Is it Eggy Rosario? Is it Kyle Higashioka? Is it calling up Brett Sullivan?
Let's not be silly.
Right.
There are 29 other managers that if you said you can have Manny Machado in your lineup, no strings attached today, put him wherever you want, they'd all take him. There's not a single team. Even the Dodgers would happily put Manny Machado in their lineup. Somewhere. DH, somewhere.
Well, if he could play third, they would put him in third for Max Muncy.
Absolutely.
Certainly.
Absolutely, he would play over Max Muncy.
And I don't know. He did talk about how he's like, I don't think he likes DHing very much. I can't really tell. But he knows he's got a job to do. He's paid handsomely to do it. But he's like, yeah, I realized I was sitting so long. Like, you sit and wait for your turn to bat. He goes, I realized I can't do that. I can't just sit and wait for my turn to hit. He at third at 90% is better than so many guys in the big leagues. I can't wait till he comes back to play third. Hopefully that's what gets his bat going. But I don't know. I just don't know, man. I was under the assumption the surgery would get him back 100% this year. Has he ever been 100% on a baseball field since, 10 years ago?
I'm just glad that I think he's going to be healthier this year, hopefully, than he was last year.
I hope so.
He was definitely not healthy at all last year.
Yeah.
He had the tennis elbow for like 2 years before that, and it was just getting worse and worse. So, yeah, it may take, just like, I think this is just doctors saying, hey, anytime you have surgery, it's going to take a while. Tommy John guys come back in 13 months, but they're not fully 100% until at least 18 months to 2 years after they have the surgery. It takes a while to fully build up everything. Doesn't mean they can't be effective and can't go out and have good seasons after they get back in 13 months, but they're not going to feel themselves like I did when I was younger until a good deal of time has gone by after surgery.
And people calling for Campy to DH, then great, fine. Like, let's do that on the days he doesn't catch, but you're going to need another catcher. So you're going to have to make a move at some point, right? Graham Pauley's had 14 ABs in the big leagues. He's gotten 2 knocks. What are we doing to his development having him, rotting on the bench? I realize he plays Manny's position at third base. You're going to have to...
Brett Sullivan's numbers in AAA are almost certainly a mirage created by the Pacific Coast League, but he's the
hottest.
I'd bring him up and let Paulie get some everyday at-bats and give Brett Sullivan, be an option there, either as a DH, left-handed bat, can catch, be another catcher that allows Campusano to DH. That's something I would do fairly early in the season. The other thing that I would do is I would probably send Johnny Brito down, stretch him out as a starter. So as soon as you needed another starter, he'd be, at 5 innings instead of 1. And I bring up one of the other guys who had decent springs, Estrada, someone else to be a right-handed, better setup option. The Padres setup right-handers have all been shaky so far this year, up to Robert Suarez in the 9th. And you need to give at least another right-hander a try. So those are the 2 things I would do. I don't think it's too early to do either of those things right now. I think you can make one of those moves or both of those moves even this week if you felt like it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think at some point you're going to have to. But I don't know what necessarily this article means for Manny and when he can be back. But they keep saying
I saw 2 days ago that he's on track to be back in about a week or 2 and playing third base. And he's already hitting. He's in the lineup. I don't feel like his elbow is like robbed him of power. He's hit many balls very hard. I don't think it keeps him from lifting the ball in the air. He just hasn't lifted some of those. He has 2 home runs. They were monster home runs. There's nothing that Manny used to do that he can't do other than throw from third to first base right now. And he just has to do it more consistently.
I'm sorry,
and that doesn't have anything to do with the injury or the surgery.
Like, I'm sorry. This take I will never get. Al tweets, if Manny's legitimately hurt, he's putting himself above the team by playing right now. That whole thing, we have kind of...
He's not hurt. He's hit 2 of the longest balls that the Padres have had this season.
He's just not 100%. He's in a slump. Right? So, again, that whole thing, him being there, not at 100%, is ultimately, I know it sucks when he's slumping, but the players, the guys he plays with are like, that's my guy. If he's doing it, I need to do it.
I'd rather have Manny at 80% than Iggy Rosario at 159%.
There's no question. I don't buy that, man. I never have. I've never bought that. Like... I've never bought that whole thing of like, oh, you're being selfish by wanting to play. Selfish is me going, hey, I don't feel good. I'm tired. I'm going home. I'm out. That's selfish. Saying, hey, man, I don't feel good. I'm tired. I took a Dayquil. I popped an Adderall. I'm going to get through this thing. That's what you guys want. I may not be at my best, but that's what your team needs. How do we not get this now?
Now, if Graham Pauley were absolutely on fire and his OPS was... 1,200, and you can put him in the lineup and give Manny a day off, fine. There's no one out there who has made a case at all to sit Manny right now on your team. There's no one.
Baffling.
All right, Paulie's got some headlines. Let's get to the Reindl Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, gentlemen, we'll move a little quickly here. Big news in college hoops overnight as it's looking like John Calipari is leaving Kentucky, and he is going to be the new coach at Arkansas, finalizing a 5-year deal. Eric Musselman leaving Arkansas to go coach at USC. We talked about that on Friday. And, everyone was kind of just shocked by this news because that's a big name. That's a big school. You don't typically that's a big story when a Duke, a Kansas, a Kentucky, or whatever make a coaching change. But ultimately, I think Kentucky's pretty happy with this because they were not happy with John Calipari over the last few years. A couple of first-round exits, including this year losing to 14-seeded, I believe, Oakland. And the problem was that Kentucky didn't want to pay him. I think it was like $31 or $33 million buyout if they were to fire him. They don't have to pay him if another school wants to hire him. So they're like, no, please don't go.
I mean, so this is a game of coaching musical chairs in which so far every school has ended up probably for the better. SMU gets Andy Enfield from USC as they move to the ACC. That's a good hire for them. USC gets Eric Musselman from Arkansas.
Great hire.
That's a good hire from them.
Damn it.
Arkansas gets John Calipari from Kentucky. That's a good hire for them.
Yep.
And Kentucky can have their pick of pretty much anyone they want. I've heard Nate Oates' name from Alabama, who they'll probably be very excited about. Like, everybody's a winner until maybe the school that Kentucky steals their coach from, and then they're going to probably end up being the loser in this game of coaching musical chairs. But, I guess national championship, 3 Final Fours doesn't buy you as much goodwill. And I think Calipari also, you could hear him getting frustrated. He's not handled the changes in college basketball quite as well as Brian Dutcher has, rolling with the punches as much. He's been bristling with it, and he'll have to get over that at Arkansas because the rules are the same at Arkansas as they are at Kentucky. So good luck. We'll see how it works out for everybody.
Yeah, national championship in 2012. He's been to 4 Final Fours. Those were in his first 6 seasons there.
I'm sure at least one of them was vacated. I'm just guessing.
He went 4-10 and 123 with the Wildcats. And see you later. All right, next up, this absolutely could have and should have been a do this if we had more time earlier in the show, but I want to shout out Jillian Albayati. I hope I'm saying that correctly. She goes to Cal State San Marcos, and she plays softball. And this weekend, she played baseball as well. Pretty awesome story. I was reading here
baseball
in
on
the
the
paper.
men's division, the college Division II college baseball
the
team.
first woman to play baseball at the D2 level. And so she hit a walk-off, or I don't know if she hit the grand slam, but there was a walk-off grand slam for their softball game. And she changed uniforms, sprinted down to the baseball field, and shortly after arriving, she was in the game. They were getting
That's amazing.
They were losing, and she got like 10 or she showed up in the 9th inning of the baseball game, and they were down big, and she got about 10 warm-up pitches, and the coach said, "You're in." And she went in there and pitched. It was really cool. I got a little CSU San Marcos posted a little video of her on the mound.
Does she want to play for the Tier 1s this Sunday?
Does she have 2 other games? Can she do 3 games in one day? Those looks like that's pretty hard.
Yeah, absolutely. She has played baseball her entire life. And I want to bring up these numbers that I saw earlier. When she was in high school, I mean, she was a stud pitcher. Where am I at? She went to Anaheim High School, and on the baseball team in 2022, they went 12-0. She went 12-0. Career record of 20-0 on the mound with a 1.68 ERA. And then she also hits 360 as well.
Good
to play.
God.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty cool. All right, and then finally...
Or was she being selfish for playing in both games in the same day?
Maybe. Yeah. Finally, do you know where Kyle, Texas is?
You know, I don't. I know Kyle Field is at Texas A&M, but I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with Kyle, Texas.
A&M is in Austin?
No, A&M is in College Station.
College Station.
UT is in Austin.
UT, okay.
College Station's down south.
Dump.
It's not good.
Kyle is south of Austin, I believe.
Of Austin.
North of San Antonio, south of Austin.
All right, well, Kyle, Texas is trying to set a Guinness World Record for the largest same-name gathering. I didn't know that was a record already. Turns out it is.
A same name gathering.
It was set in 2017. 2,325 people named Ivan showed up to a gathering in Bosnia and another city I'm not going to even try to pronounce. So 2325 is the number. And Kyle is calling for any and all Kyles to show up to Kyle, Texas on May 18th at 1 o'clock. It's part of the Kyle Fair. And they want anybody that is named Kyle to show up as they attempt to break that number of 2,325 Ivans with at least 2,326 Kyles.
So if there was a Ben, California, all the Bens would...
Who's like the most famous Kyle? Like, is there like a signature Kyle to get? I'm trying to think of the Kyles we know. We've got Kyle Glazer, who
love Kyle Glazer.
Yeah,
Kyle Rudolph.
Let's see,
was
the
a
most
tight end.
famous Kyles.
Kyle Kraska, TV guy.
Yeah, your guys.
Kyle Busch is a
Kyle Lowry,
NASCAR driver.
Kyle Chandler, actor. Kyle
he was,
Busch.
he was in Friday Night Lights, right?
Mhm.
Kyle Chandler.
Kyle Korver. Not a lot of Kyles.
I've got
Kyle
a cousin
Mooney.
named Kyle. Well, y'all be heading to Kyle, Texas
I
right
doubt
now.
it. Who's paying my way? I'm not just going to be like, all right, babe, I'm driving.
You're not named Kyle.
I'm driving
so
to
you don't need to worry
Steve,
about it.
Oregon.
You don't want to be a part of the Guinness record.
No, I'm driving this. Where are you going? I'm driving to Stephen, Oregon this weekend. For what? They're doing a thing. For what is it? Everybody with the name Stephen shows up and we just hang out. All right, have fun. Okay.
They've tried to do this before. Last year they had 1,490 Kyles show up to the event. They're going to need about 1,000 more.
So are we going to get Kyle Higashioka out there? Is he going to miss a game for the?
I think so.
Better not.
Oh, the boomer would come out in Woods.
The chat comes up with Kyle Long from the Bears. Kyle McLaughlin, he was Twin Peaks, right? Actor?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. All
Very
right.
good actor.
Not a lot of Kyles that come to mind, though, as far as big
I
famous
can't believe you
names.
didn't do the Morgan Wallen story. That's what I really wanted to hear.
I mean, it's not a good story. I don't even like giving him breath.
Kyle Petty. Steve Smith comes up with that one.
He's going to be on Kyle's the rest of the day.
Yeah, he is.
All right. We could save
Daryl Kyle? Oh, no, that doesn't
No,
count.
we can save Morgan Wallen.
Maybe don't do this tomorrow.
100%.
A national championship game tonight. A couple quick thoughts. Paul keeps asking me, is UConn going to cover? They're going to cover? They're not going to cover?
You know, I don't know.
Keeps asking me. I don't know either, Paul. If I did, we wouldn't have to do this job at all.
It's that I think I'm set in my ways, and then I read one little note about Purdue, and I go, well, now I don't know what to do anymore.
Kyle Schwarber.
That's what they want, by the way,
I know.
Paulie. They want you to be unsure. That is exactly what they want.
Yeah, I want to ask Woods about Friday night Seals game as well. When I come back.
It's phenomenal.
Ben and Woods after traffic on 97.3 The Fan. All right, Woods, you got more work to do because with their win on Friday night, correct me if I'm wrong, the Seals clinched a home playoff game.
Correct.
Give me some details on the win and what's coming up now for the San Diego Seals.
It's like the quietest, most peaceful, non-chippy game I think I've ever called.
Panther City.
Yeah, I mean, they played great.
Which we've determined is Fort Worth, Texas.
Correct.
Okay.
Where's Panther City?
They were 7-7 going into the game. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. 500 team. They had like 5 1-goal losses, though. So they're
like the Padres.
The Padres of the NLL.
The NLL.
And their goalie was our old goalie, Nick Demude, one of them. And he was great. And they battled it out. And finally, man, at the end, they just unleashed. Trevor Baptiste, who is the face-off specialist, won 25 of 27 face-offs. And scored 2 goals. It was incredible. It was a great night. So many fans out there. People are stoked. So, yeah, we got a home playoff game. We'll figure out who, seeding, and all that. We have one more regular season game on the 19th.
One more game and then the playoffs.
Yeah, one more game and then the playoffs. I'm super excited. It was electric. And we scored 4 goals in like the last minute to put it on ice, so it was pretty dope.
By the way, speaking of the playoffs, and I'm sure Craig will have more on this, soccer's lost on Saturday on the road. So they play tonight, and they got to win twice. They got to win the game, and then they got to win an, if necessary, mini game, like a one-quarter game to advance. So they're going to be out in the first round, which would be a big upset against the Texas Outlaws. They lost 6-4 on Saturday night, so good luck to the Sockers as well. But I think most of our attention tonight will be on the NCAA championship game from State Farm Stadium. What?
False.
Yes,
my attention will be on the San Diego Padres.
Around the country, attention will be on the NCAA championship game. And
I'm not an old. I'll have 2 screens going.
That's smart. Yeah, have both of them working at the same time.
How does one do that?
UConn, Purdue. One, I can watch on my phone. I did that yesterday. I watched the women's basketball on my phone, Padres on the TV for the second half of the women's basketball game.
Help you out, man.
Wasn't that hard.
I don't want to watch the Padres on my phone, and I don't want to watch the basketball on my
Paulie,
phone.
you and I were trying to guess.
Yeah.
We tried to guess what would the line be if it was UConn against Purdue.
Which is the matchup everybody wanted.
And we both said we thought 6.5 sounded right.
Yeah.
I think it opened at 6, actually. But now it's gone up.
It's gone up to 7.
UConn by 7. So we were pretty spot on our prediction of what the line would be. Of course, on Saturday, both Purdue and UConn won their national semifinal games. And, it was kind of went as you'd expect. Alabama gave UConn a game, at least for a while. But eventually, UConn pulled away and won by double digits again.
I was sweating that one just because I had
it was tied at
UConn
56.
minus 11.5, I think it was. And they were just hovering around 8 to 10 point lead the entire second half.
Way sweatier than it
Come
needed
on,
to be.
pull away. And then they did.
And then kind of clock struck midnight on 11th seed NC State. Purdue, just too much to handle with Zach Edey. 20 points, 12 rebounds. They won 63-50. So, this is the game pretty much everybody wanted. Just like in the women's side, you get in the game that the best player against the best team. The best player, Zach Edey, against the best team in UConn. On the women's side,
been the best 2 teams all season long.
Yep.
All year.
On the women's side, it was the best team that won out, and I fully believe it's going to be the best team that wins out tonight for the UConn Huskies back-to-back titles. They just take no prisoners. Danny Hurley has got that team locked in when it comes time for March Madness, and they don't only refuse to lose. They refuse to even let it be close at the end.
Well, before Saturday's game, they hadn't won by any less than 15. And then they won by 14, so it's still, they are just bodying opponents. And, I think at minus 7, I think I'll still have to ride with UConn tonight.
Just going to be watching the Padres try to hit with runners in scoring position. I can't do both. I'm ADD pretty bad. Like, watching a basketball game and a baseball game at the same time would make me insane, all whilst wrangling 2 absolute lunatics at home, both of which are now sick. So it's like there's no way. I'm going. You guys fill me in on the game tomorrow. I'm watching the pods and doing dad work. That's it. That's all I can handle. I bet on the game though, but I will not be watching it.
And I assume you went with UConn as well.
I did.
I mean,
Gambling
the run,
problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, GEGE
the
000
run will end at
That's
some time. They will not win every NCAA game the rest of my lifetime by double digits. So at some point, it's going to end. Is the chances that it will...
You took
He
UConn?
took UConn, too. Does Purdue have the best chance of anyone yet of ending that run? Probably better than San Diego State did in the championship last year, to be honest.
Yeah.
San Diego State didn't have Zach Edey. They had Nathan Mensah, but they didn't have Zach Edey. So, to me, though, I think Edey is, he's an outstanding college basketball player. But I don't know that he can overcome everything that's going against Purdue in this game. They'll need to shoot lights out. I mean, Alabama shot lights out in the first half,
which is weird.
They still couldn't come
Right.
close to beating UConn.
Yeah, they were like
8 of
60% from three.
No, more than that. 8 of 11 in the first half, and they were down 6.
Yeah. And teams don't typically shoot well in big football stadiums like that, at least from deep. And
True.
You're going to be at State Fart Stadium, so yeah, I'll take UConn in this one. It's been a fun tournament, though.
All right, Woods, you want to talk Padres. You want to talk tonight's game, the one you'll actually be watching. Will we see a different lineup from Mike Schilt? He hinted that it's at least being thought about, and we'll play that audio and discuss whether Jackson Merrill should be promoted, as it were, from the bottom of the order to the top of the order when we come back with more Ben and Woods. Final segment coming up on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. San Diego Legion are back this Sunday. Going to take on the NOLA Gold at Snapdragon Stadium. Get your rugby tickets now at sdlegion.com or call fast, 833-288-0973. Win a pair. Second caller going to win a pair of Legion Gold tickets this Sunday at Snapdragon, 833-288-0973. Good luck to you from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. All right, we're going to check traffic. And then I want to get into Mike Shildt and what he said about Jackson Merrill and his potential to move up in the Padres lineup after a 4-for-4 performance yesterday in San Francisco. That's coming up next here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Some problems on the coastline. Southbound 5 at Manchester. Got a collision blocking the HOV lane. And on the northbound side, before Loma Santa Fe, there is a crash in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think one of the most surprising things about Mike Shildt so far is that 12 games into the season, there has been zero deviation in the first 6 players in his batting order. They have been exactly the same every single game. I have not checked every other lineup in baseball, but my guess is that there is not a single other team that has had the same top 6 in their order every single game so far this season other than the San Diego Padres.
Maybe.
I doubt it.
Dodgers, maybe?
Well,
You don't mess with that much?
Every game has a catcher in their lineup. Every team has a catcher, and the catcher always, so if the catcher has to be one of the last 3 batters.
Why?
Well, if you're going to have the same top 6, because
yeah.
no team plays the same catcher
the
every
Dodgers
game.
then don't do that.
So the Dodgers can't, because Will Smith gets a day off occasionally because he's a catcher. So they can't do it because they have the catcher as one of their better players. So the only way you can do it is if you have the catcher in the bottom third of your order, which the Padres do, and have had the exact same line. Most lineups, they have guys that platoon around, and the Padres do as well.
Yeah.
They've had a Zokar move in a couple of games, and they've switched to third baseman a couple of times, but every single time it's happened in the bottom third of the order. Same lineup every day. Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, Ha-Sung Kim, Jurickson Profar. You'd think they're like 12-0 just based on the consistency there. Why change a good thing? The fact that they're only 5-7, though, does make you wonder, could there be a better combination? And it's not like the top of the order hasn't struggled in many of those games in, putting together rallies and runs on the board. So is it time for Mike Shildt to make a change at the top of the order? And what should he do if he is going to make that change? Because we've already talked about how you're kind of limited if you want to split up your righties. You have to have Jake be your third hitter just so there's not 3 righties in a row in that situation.
I don't know what I would do, to be honest, if given the pen and the paper today and said, all right, smart guy, you do it. Right? I don't know that I would do. I don't know what I would do differently. It's not like when a guy makes a case to move up in the lineup, a guy that's hitting well in Jackson Merrill's case, you also have to run the risk of moving him up and messing with the comfortability of hitting 9th and knowing he's hitting 9th and doing the job that a 9-hole hitter does. And it's different. You get different pitches in different spots. If I'm a pitcher and I know that this kid has good bat to ball skills, but he's probably not going to take me deep. I pitch him a little bit differently than I do if he's in a different spot. I don't know, man. It's not as simple as a spark by changing the lineup is going to make one bit of difference. I don't know about the personnel on this team, Ben, that tells me this is the optimal lineup for this team. I loved Xander in the top because I was like, it's going to be harder to hit into double plays, at least in the first inning, and Manny batting 4 with Ha-Sung Kim behind him, who's also not hitting well. That's kind of tough because why throw anybody a strike right now? Why make them chase? Everyone's going to start to press. They're going to do too much. It's the nature of the game. I don't know how I would jigger it much other than putting Toddy at the top. And that's something we've talked about. He said that he likes to do it. They did it in spring training, but not being able to trust Xander essentially has earned him the leadoff spot in the order. I don't know if that's the best way to do it either, right? Like, I don't trust you, so I'm going to hit you first, right? Is that the best way? I have no idea. Toddy in the 3 hole, maybe. Jake in the 2. Xander in the 1.
So I'm looking back right now because I remember when Fernando Tatis Jr. made his debut back in 2019. He was Andy Green had him in the 6th hole, and I thought, but pretty soon he moved his way up into the lineup. Right, he was doing really well. He was in the 6th hole for about 3 to 4 weeks before they moved him up, and they started batting him leadoff for a while. And since then, he's obviously been near the top of the order, but they still gave him 3 to 4 weeks near the bottom at the 6th, not 9th, but 6th in the order before making the change. Is 12 games too soon to move Jackson Merrill up? Because this is the lineup that if you could promise me that Jackson Merrill is just going to be Jackson Merrill, take the same at-bats that we've been seeing, which is selective, hitting the ball hard. He's walked a couple of times, stole a base the other day this weekend. Things that a leadoff hitter does well, Jackson Merrill seems to do well. I would go like this. Jackson Merrill, Tatis, Machado, Cronenworth, Bogarts, and then I would go with Jurickson.
Profar. That's not bad.
And then that's a 1 through 7 that's got some lefty-righty balance and doesn't have Xander, who is yet to get going and yet to show any extra base. Moves him down a little bit in the order. It gives Manny the protection of a hotter Jake Cronenworth right now out of the 4 slot, but keeps Jake's speed if he's on, limits a little bit of the worry about Xander grounding into double plays. You can put Jake in motion a little bit with his speed out there.
He's not super fast.
He's not super fast, but he's a good runner. I think that would be the lineup that I might try next. But again, you are risking messing with Jackson Merrill by putting him in. Leadoff spot's tough for anybody. Even veterans sometimes struggle in the leadoff spot when they don't have experience with it. But
bro, my guy going from a 9-hole to a leadoff hitter in 12 games would be.
It's essentially just moving one spot in the order, though.
It is.
It's one spot in the order.
This is Jackson Merrill.
After the first at-bat of the game, it's the exact same thing. You're pretty much batting right where you were when it comes around at the bottom of the top. It's one spot in the order, and you're just getting that extra at-bat. And right now, I'd rather have Jackson Merrill getting that extra at-bat than anyone, especially a guy who's getting so many singles and could be on base a ton, for then Tatis and Machado and Cronenworth coming up behind him.
I don't think it's a stupid idea by any stretch. I think it's a pipe dream, but I've been wrong before.
I mean, I think Mike Schilt would have to play the psychological game. Here's what Mike Schilt had to say when he was pressed a little bit by the reporters after the game yesterday about, is it time to move Jackson Merrill up in the lineup?
Gosh, man, what good at bats. What an approach. He's clearly understanding what he's doing in every situation. He's taking the right at bats. He's got a good mentality. I loved all the at bats. I loved the at bat in the 9th, and I loved him having the ability to go grab that bag to put himself in scoring position to tie the game. He played the game right in every phase all series.
With as much hard contact that he's made, he only has 2 RBIs this season. I know you talked about liking the first 6 in your lineup. Any thought maybe soon if he keeps doing this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's going to tell us when he's ready to move up for sure, and he's definitely making a case.
All right. Has he told him enough that he's ready to move up? He's making the case.
I said it earlier. If you move him out of the 9 spot where he's doing really well and comfortable and everything else as a rookie, been in the league for 12 days, who hits 9th? Having him at the
Tyler Wade.
Okay. Well, having him at the bottom is essentially, once you get through the first part, right? That's your back-to-back guy. You know what I mean? Like, I've always liked doing a good hitter last as well, a good enough hitter. What I don't want to get to again is that 7, 8, 9, where you're like, I'm going to go to the
I know, but if Jurickson's now 7 in my new lineup.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And Campy is 8, or Campy is 7 and Jurickson's 8. To me, that's a good lineup there. Dan in the chat says too much pressure on Merrill.
He's adapted to every bet.
Maybe you're right. I think Schilt would have to play the psychology game and go, Jackson, we're actually not changing you in the order. We're just going to get you an extra at-bat to start the game.
Right.
You're still 9th, yeah. But we're going to start with our 9 hitter. We're going to go 9.
Really?
We're going 9. We're going 9-1-2 to lead off the game instead of 1-2-3.
So I hit first?
It's the same lineup.
Yeah, I say that.
Except you're starting with your 9 hitter instead of your 1 hitter. And after the first at-bat, it literally is no different. There's no rule that says, the leadoff hitter comes up first every inning. It doesn't work that way. We're talking the one at-bat. Who do you want to get that at-bat right now? I want Jackson Merrill to get that at-bat. So you have to just psychologically don't do anything different. This is you're hitting in the 9 hole, and we're just starting with the 9 hitter in the first inning instead of the 1 hitter.
He's
That's
not
the
6.
same lineup.
He's not 6. Bo would buy that. He's not 6 years old. It's totally different. The job of a 9-hole hitter is way different.
It's not.
It's
the same spot in the lineup, essentially.
It's not.
It is.
One is 1 and one is 9. That's like saying noon is the same time as 6
The
a.m.
lineup-
It's the same thing.
The lineup, we call it a lineup, but it's not. It's a circle. It's not a line.
It is a circle.
It's a circle.
I get it.
And it's like a clock. What's the closest on the clock to 12? 11. He's in the 11 spot, right next to the 12, which would be the leadoff spot. They're basically the same. It's 11:59 p.m., 12 p.m. Make him the leadoff hitter.
You're basically saying you can just put 9 names in a hat and draw.
No. I am keeping the lineup exactly the same. I'm just starting with number 9 instead of number 1. It's just starting on a little different place on the circle. I am starting the 1 hour early on my clock, my circular 9-hour clock. I'm starting 1 hour early.
He might be young enough to believe
That's
your
what
BS.
I'm thinking.
He might be young enough to believe your BS. Right? What? Oh,
You're not the leadoff hitter. You're the number 9 hitter, and we're starting with number 9.
But you are leading off.
Just the once.
Just the once.
Just the once.
Look, I don't care. I just want them to win baseball games. They need to play well against the Cubs. We haven't talked about the Cubs much and kind of what we're facing this week. Give me the start times again. Why are they weird? Do we know?
So
is it national TV game or something?
6:40 is
6:40
normal.
tonight.
That's normal. 7:05 is, I believe, get out of national windows tomorrow and start later. I think. I'm not sure why it's 7:05.
I think they're somewhere national.
Or they are
tomorrow.
national window tomorrow. That's why it's later. So they're the second game on TBS or something.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, 3:40. And I don't know this, so I'm making things up as I go, but I like to think that I can figure these things out. 3:40 is the compromise. The Cubs have to fly out after the game, but the Padres don't have. They've got a day off on Thursday, and they're just driving up to L.A. So there's no reason. There's no reason for the Padres to rush. They'd probably rather have a night game. The Cubs would rather have a day game, and the Padres said, "All right, let's compromise, and we'll make it at 3:40 to give more people a chance to get there. But you Cubs, you can still fly out before it's midnight at the end of the night."
Yeah, so they are TBS tomorrow. Now, does TBS mean that it takes away Don and Mud, or is it both?
I don't know that Don does
Mud?
every TBS game.
No. I just mean,
just
will we get the Padres broadcast and there's a TBS broadcast, or is it like Sunday Night Baseball where
they're off?
They are off. That's the national game.
I think only ESPN is the one where you still have the local. ESPN during the week is the one where you have both. But I feel like the FS1s and the TBSs do supersede the local broadcasts and the
TBS
Sunday Night Baseball.
night.
So I would think tomorrow night will then be a TBS game.
All right,
but that's TBD.
You got you on the
TBS.
you got you on the mound tonight. Javier Assad is throwing against us. He's 1-0 this year. He is not a super hard thrower. He does throw his fastball.
I was surprised how good his numbers were.
He's got
last
really
year.
good numbers, but he's fastball slider guy, Benny. He throws a curve and change. He doesn't throw them a ton. So again, fastball slider guy he's not overpowering. Darvish has pitched really well against Chicago in limited work. But
Likes facing his old team.
2-1. His ERA is 1.71. He's been great this year. Need that to continue certainly, and got to find a way to jump on a young pitcher.
You've got your ace who started out well, going up against not a bad pitcher, but this is one to me. As I said, this week is a dicey one for the Padres. You're 2 games under 500. You got the hot Cubs and the Dodgers for 6. You cannot have a 1-5 week. It would be really good to start with a win tonight when you've got the advantage and you've got the hot pitcher going. Set the tone for the week. Feels like it's an important game to start the week. They're all important, but it's like yesterday would have been a bonus. I said this earlier. This was the Padres 5 going against the Cy Young runner-up from last year. If the Padres had won that, you feel like you're stealing one. Now, obviously, they should have won it based on how the game played out, and they let it get away. But that's a game you steal. You don't expect to win a game like that. This is one where you have to kind of hold serve. You're at home. You got Darvish on the mound. You need to take this one to start the series, and then you've got 2 chances to win the series against the Cubs on Tuesday and Wednesday with some good pitchers going. And hopefully you win that series because you know it's going to be tough this weekend with the bottom of your rotation against the Dodgers. It's just going to be tough. It is. So winning this series against the Cubs to me is pretty important over the next 3 days.
No doubt, man. No doubt. It's got to get this thing going. Got to get the ship righted. Got to eat well at home. You know, these guys got to come out hungry tonight, and it's time for everybody to get going. Top of the order. I mean, you know, you can only say it so much. We need those guys to carry us. We need the stars to star here in San Diego, like they do in other places. And I realize, man, across the league, there's some guys that are scuffling right now that are highly paid. It's 12 games in, but, you know, to erase those memories of last year, if you don't want to be known as that team, then only you can change it. Like, only you can change the perception of you, right? And doing that means coming out tonight and putting the wood to this guy.
And don't forget, Wednesday's the Manny Machado home run bobblehead giveaway presented by Queto Ortho to wrap up just a quick 3-game homestand, and then it's off to L.A. to face the Dodgers. We are off for the rest of our day. Annie and Elston standing by. They will come up next. Great job by our executive producer and imaging director, Paul Reindl. For Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So